Hello, Hariharan sir.
Hello. So are we all set? Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Professor Jayachandran. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jayachandran sir.
Good morning.
Hello, Excellency. Here, welcome you, sir.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. So, 3 minutes to go, then we will start our opening session. We welcome the Consul of Yemen, our beloved Consul, His Excellency Yahya Tawbar. He is available with us, as well as the Vice Rector of the Academic Affairs at Thamar University, Professor Adil Al-Ansi, and also the Dean of the Faculty of Education at Thamar University, Professor Ahmed Al-Dumaini. They're all available. And also the plenary speakers are here, Professor Hariharan, Professor Ivy Song from China, Professor Hariharan from India, and then we will have later Professor Antar Sulaihi from Egypt. So 2 minutes to go, then we will start our session. This is just a welcome for all and a test of the sound as well. So, good morning and assalamu alaikum everyone. I would request Mr. Bhaskar to initiate the session. Mr. Bhaskar, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amin. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this international virtual conference titled Language Teaching and Learning in EFL, ESL Settings, Status and Prospects. This is a two-day conference being held in collaboration between the Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala, India, and the Department of English, Faculty of Education, Thamar University, Yemen. I would like to request that all participants kindly mute their microphones. An option should be available to mute your microphone on the bottom left of your Google Meets page. Prior to commencing the conference, we shall play the national anthems of India and Yemen. Now, the national anthem of India.
Mr. Abdurrahman, please, the national anthem of India. Thank you. We will start the national anthem again. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Now, the national anthem of Yemen. To give the welcome speech, I invite Professor S.A. Shahnawaz. Professor Shahnawaz is the head of the Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala. He is the key senior faculty member from India who has been instrumental in conceiving this conference. Dr. Shahnawaz, sir, I request you to make a welcome note.
Welcome, one and all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Let me recite one stanza from Holy Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Iqra bismi rabbikal ladhi khalaqa khalaqal insana min 'alaq. Iqra rabbukal akramul ladhi 'allama bil qalam 'allama al insana ma lam ya'lam. Yani, recite in the name of your Lord who has created man with a cloth. Read, and your Lord, the most generous, who has taught writing by pen, has taught man that what he know not. Distinguished dignitaries from around the world, a warm welcome to you all. Professor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P.P. Ajay Kumar, Professor Hilal Al-Ansi, Vice Rector of Academic Affairs from Yemen University, Thamar University, Professor Abdul Karim Sabiba, Vice Rector from Higher Education, His Excellency Yahya Baba, the Consul General of the Republic of Yemen in Mumbai, Professor R.J. Chandran, Dean, Faculty of Oriental Studies, University of Kerala, Professor Ahmad Al-Damini, Dean, Faculty of English, Thamar University, distinguished invitees for the plenary speakers like Professor B. Hariharan, Professor Anthar Abdullah, Professor C.A. Law, Professor E.V. Song Hayam, Professor N.C. Mazda Zubairi, Professor Mansi Bajaj, my distinguished colleagues, dear students, and dear participants from all around the world. It is my pride and honor to welcome you all to this international conference organized in association with the Thamar University, the University of Kerala Department of Linguistics. It's an international conference about the teaching and learning of English language in the global arena, that is the IT era. Here we are dealing with various aspects of the language teaching and learning theories, techniques, and focusing of the ELT in an ESP setting. As all we know, English is the language of the world, and people around the world learn this English for various purposes, for educational purpose, scientific advancement, livelihood, and migration, and all these things. Since there is a person to introduce the seminar topic, I'm not going to the details. Now let me welcome one and all those who are joined here for this virtual conference. The conference we titled International Conference on Language Teaching and Learning with a special reference to ELT. Yes. First of all, I have to welcome our Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor P.P. Ajay Kumar, who has wholeheartedly agreed to inaugurate this program. On behalf of the organizing committee and Department of Linguistics and all those who are assembled here, I welcome you, sir, to this inaugural program. Professor P.P. Ajay Kumar is a professor of English and well-versed in English language teaching. He is heading the university as a Pro-Vice Chancellor, and he is always helping us, the department, in every aspect of this program. I welcome you, sir. Now I welcome His Excellency Professor Yahya Baba, the Consul General of the Yemen at Mumbai. He is associating with us, and he will be giving a word of appreciation or facilitation to this seminar. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Professor Abid Al-Ansi, Honorable Rector for Academic Affairs, Thamar University, Yemen. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Professor Abdul Karim Zabiba, Honorable Vice Rector for Higher Studies at Scientific Research, Thamar University, Yemen. On behalf of the University of Kerala, I welcome both of you dignitaries to this conference. I welcome Professor R.J. Chandran, Dean of Faculty of Oriental Studies, where this linguistics is belonging to. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Professor Ahmad Al-Domini, Dean, Faculty of Education, Thamar University, who is associating with us in organizing this seminar. I welcome you, sir. And I have to welcome so many dignitaries who have agreed to address this seminar at this conference by giving plenary sessions, plenary speakers like Professor B. Hariharan, Professor Anit Mazdeen Al-Zubairi, Professor Anthar Abdullah, Professor Yang Song Yong, Professor Lal C.A., Professor Mansi Bajaj, etc., etc. 6 people are giving plenary sessions. I welcome you all, sir. And we have received plenty of papers. Among them, we have selected only 30 papers for the presentation. I welcome on and all these persons who are presenting these papers. I welcome them wholeheartedly. I welcome the chairpersons assigned for this seminar, like Professor Rajendra, Professor Veena, Professor Andhar Abdullah, Professor Ainul Masdi, Professor Andhar Abdullah, and Professor Musa Sheikh. I welcome you all, and I welcome all those who participating in this seminar. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics, I welcome one and all. It is my privilege to welcome Dr. Amin Al-Gamal, who is the real spirit behind this seminar. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics, as a salute, I welcome Mr. Dr. Amin. I welcome the whole cabin crew, what I call the secretariat for this conference. Each one is to be appreciated. I welcome you and all. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics, I thank God to make this program a great success. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Now to introduce the conference, the details of the conference itself, I invite Dr. Amin Ali Al-Jamil of the Department of English, Faculty of Education, Thamar University, Yemen. Dr. Amin, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pascal. First of all, assalamu alaikum everyone. Good morning, namaskaram, namaste, all the languages of the world. I welcome you all, and I will just go directly to my mission here, which is to introduce the conference. At the outset, allow me to seize this rare opportunity and send a big thank you letter to all of you for your kind support, cooperation, and participation in the conference. The present conference has come into existence after much appreciated and collective efforts, coordination, and collaboration between the Department of Linguistics at University and the Department of English in the Faculty of Education at Thamar University in Yemen. The motive and the core idea behind this conference is to bring the two universities together, as well as the experts, researchers, language teachers, and students from all areas of language and from all around the world, in order to give an take on the topic, language teaching and learning in English as a second language and English as a foreign language settings, status, and prospects. The conference has been selected to cover the following topics: the applied linguistics, language teaching, that is the theories and the applications, English language as a second language, teaching English as a foreign language, English for specific purposes, language assessment and evaluation, online language teaching, which is the need of the hour, language and pedagogy, ICT and language learning, approaches, methods, and techniques for language teaching and language and education. Over 900 participants have registered online to join the conference. A number of scholars have thankfully submitted their abstracts and papers for the presentations. After the peer review process, 30 presented in the 2 days. The conference will be going on for 2 wonderful days, starting from today, 20th September 2020 at 11 a.m. India time, and corresponding to 8:30 a.m. in Yemen time. On the first day, the inaugural session, which is now going on, will be initiated. Then that will be followed by 3 plenary sessions, lecture talks by 3 experts in language teaching and learning. Then there will be 3 technical sessions in which 3 language experts will chair the sessions and 12 scholars will present their papers. The second day, which is tomorrow, 21st September 2020, will be also initiated by 11 a.m. That will correspond to 8:30 a.m. in Yemen. The day will begin by 3 plenary sessions by 3 experts in language teaching and learning, and then that will be followed by 5 technical sessions in which 5 language experts will chair the sessions and 20 scholars will present their papers. There will be a book release at the end of the conference, and there will be also electronic certificates will be issued for the participants depending on their duration of attendance as per Google Meet reports. That is 70% attendance as a minimum. Thank you all, and we wish you an enjoyable learning experience.
Thank you, Dr. Amin. Now we have 4 very special speakers today offering notes of felicitation. First, His Excellency Yahya Ghaubar is the Consul General of the Republic of Yemen in Mumbai. Your Excellency, I invite you to give a note of felicitation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Do you hear me?
Yes. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. You are very audible.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, University of Kerala, Professor P.P. Ajay Kumar. Honorable Vice Rector, Thamar University, Professor Adil Al-Ansi and Professor Abdul Karim Zabiba. Professor Jayat Chandra, Dean of Faculty of Oriental Studies, University of Kerala. Professor Ahmad Al-Dumaini, Dean of Faculty of Education, Thamar University. All the dignitaries from University of Kerala, Thamar University, conference experts, chairperson of the session, paper research presenters, participants, and all. A very good morning to all of you. It is a moment of pleasure and pride that the University of Kerala in India and the Thamar University in Yemen are jointly conducting such an outstanding international conference in which eminent experts, academicians, international conference in which eminent experts, academicians, researchers, and learning are coming together to share their ideas and research finding on the topic language teaching and learning in ESL and EFL settings, status and prospects. I would like to take this opportunity and invite you all to make full use of the deliberations that will be going on in these 2 days and come up with fruitful outcomes and facilitation of language teaching and learning that meet the requirements of the 21st century. I wish you all the success today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Our next speaker joins us from Yemen. Dr. Abdul Qadir Al-Ahmad will be speaking on behalf of Professor Adil Al-Ansi, who is the Honorable Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Thamar University, Yemen. I invite you, sir, to kindly make an address.
Hello, good morning, everybody, respected guests. I would like to ask a question. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. I have the honor and privilege to speak on behalf of Professor Adil Al-Ansi, the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs at Thamar University. Let me seize this auspicious opportunity to welcome all the plenary speakers, chairpersons of the technical sessions, paper presenters, and participants to the international virtual conference titled Language Teaching and Learning in ESL and EFL Settings, Status, and Prospects. It gives us immense pleasure to deeply thank the University of Kerala, its authorities, academicians, and all for making arrangements to conduct such an excellent academic activity in association with Thamar University. Special thanks to Professor Shanavas, the professor and head of the Department of Linguistics at the University of Kerala, and Dr. Amin Al-Jamal, the teaching staff in the English Language Department at Thamar University, for their wonderful and fruitful efforts in bringing these two universities together and consummating the concept of conference. I hope this conference shall kickstart future collaborations between the University of Kerala and Thamar University in various academic activities and consultations. The conference theme focuses on one of the most important aspects in language teaching and learning, especially when it is done, mother tongue dominates. I hope the deliberations triggered by the paper presenters on the approaches, techniques, and strategies in teaching and learning second or foreign languages will be of great help for language teachers and learners alike. Finally, I would like to truly thank the Thamar University research scholars in India, including Dr. Abdurrahman Amir, Mr. Walid Daya, Mr. Jamil Al-Gabri, and all for their fruitful efforts in having this conference a great success. I highly appreciate the collective efforts of all the members in the organizing committee from India and Yemen, and I thank all who attended the conference and who are present from both countries. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The next address shall be offered by Professor Jayachandran R., who is the Dean of the Faculty of Oriental Studies at the University of Kerala. All the Indian language departments at the University of Kerala, including the Department of Linguistics, come under the Faculty of Oriental Studies. Professor Jayachandran, sir, I invite you to make an address.
Thank you. I congratulate Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala, and Professor Shanavas and his team for organizing such an event jointly with Thamar University, Yemen. The topic is very noble: language teaching and learning in ESL, EFL settings, status and prospectus. As we all know, lot of terminology like teaching English as foreign language, teaching English to speakers of other languages, English as second language, English as foreign language, English for specific purpose. Even we do have an association of English Language Teachers Association of India, which is located in Tamil Nadu. We all Indians and even we Keralites, where the University of Kerala is located, we study English as second language, even in the primary schools and even the secondary schools up to the high school level. We have English, but we don't have English specialist teachers in those days when we used to study. Now the scenario has changed. Now in almost all the schools, high school level and secondary schools, we have teachers with English as specialist teachers, and we do have postgraduate teachers in Kendriya Vidyalayas and Navodaya Vidyalayas and all centrally managed schools. That shows the importance of English across the world and across the country. And in University of Kerala, we have a lot of interdisciplinary studies with related to almost all languages, especially comparative studies, a lot of other centers which centrally functions with English department like Canadian studies, women's studies and all such centers are also working in Institute of English. Whereas other languages where we belong, Oriental studies, that excepting linguistics, all other languages, Indian languages like Tamil, Hindi, Malayalam, Sanskrit, all comes under one umbrella, and we work together for interdisciplinarity and cross-cultural studies. That way we work, and I am happy to give a felicitation address in this mega international conference, which is organized by Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala, and I wish all the success to the department and to the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jayachandran. Now I invite Professor Ahmed Al-Daumini, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Education, Thamar University, Yemen. It is an honor that you have been able to join us, sir. Jamil Al-Ghabri will speak on behalf of Professor Al-Daumini. Please, I invite you to make an address.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible for you all.
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Yes. Yeah, it's my great pleasure to say a few words about this academic event. First, I would like to express my profound gratitude to the authorities of Kerala University, represented by Professor Bibi Ajay Kumar, Pro Vice Chancellor, and Professor Chanavas, for their efforts exerted in organizing this conference. I also thank Dr. Amin Al-Gamal and his team for bringing this event into light. My profound thanks go to the research scholars who, with their participation, will make this conference a success. This amazing academic collaboration between the Thamar University and Kerala University is a fruitful outcome of the interconnections between Yemen and India. Indian universities have always played a great role in qualifying our research scholars throughout the years. Almost in every university in Yemen, there is at least one professor graduated from India, either in English literature and language, natural sciences, medical sciences, or managerial sciences. More importantly, some eminent Indian professors worked along with us as a teaching staff, and they contributed greatly to the growth of the academic community in the country. And we are here today extending this collaboration further, taking benefit of the technological advancements, eliminating distances, and crossing borders virtually to open up academic avenues for our research scholars to exchange their ideas and to grow academically. I thank you all again for being part of this conference, and we all hope the technical sessions and the academic deliberations would bring out fruitful outcomes.
Much to all the esteemed speakers for the auspicious felicitations. Now for the inaugural address, allow me to introduce Professor P.P. Ajay Kumar. Professor Ajay Kumar is the Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Kerala. We thank you, sir, for making time for this conference. As a professor of English as well, we are all, Professor Ajay Kumar, sir, I invite you to make the inaugural address.
As respected dignitaries of both universities and respected teachers and participants, it is indeed a pleasure to be part of an international conference of this dimension on English language teaching. And the Department of Linguistics deserves credit for organizing a seminar of the sort and roping in experts from different parts of the world. I believe that as an English teacher, English has become a world language. It won't be right to say that English is a world language. Somehow it has become a world language. And there are different reasons for that. But at the same time, it is also true that proficiency in English, in using English, is considered to be one of the qualifications for attaining job and success in the divergent fields of employment. So it is in this context we have to discuss the transformation that is necessary in strategies for teaching and learning English. I don't know whether there is such a common strategy for people all over the world. for learning as well as teaching English. I believe that strategies may differ from people to people, from place to place, from nation to nation, because learning strategies are to a certain extent personal, and the kind of environment in which the teaching learning takes place, that is also different in different countries and different institutions. So whatever may be the strategy, I think one thing that is important in language learning is the kind of exposure that a child exposure to that particular language that the child or the student gets. Why this is important? Because it is that exposure that gives him or her the kind of access to that language. So, from my experience as a teacher for the last more than 30 years, I understand that apart from strategies or theories of learning, we should believe on our experience. As a student in the high school classes, we used to create handwritten magazines on various topics. And at one occasion, I was in charge of creating the Hindi magazine, a magazine exclusively for Hindi and written in Hindi. And from my experience, I understood, even at that time, that by writing Hindi from the beginning to the end, the whole magazine, and by reading it again and again, I developed a kind of expertise in Hindi, or my exposure to Hindi through that writing of the magazine helped me
Hello.
to develop
Hello, everyone.
a better helped me to develop a better access to the language, its structure, its various phrases and the words and the way it is written, etc. That helped me a lot to get acquainted with the language. So similarly, nowadays, even small children speak English very fluently, not because they are taught in the classroom, but because they watch videos, games, video games, different types of games, where the characters converse in English. So that helps them to get acquainted with the language. So that kind of exposure to the language is indeed an important aspect of learning the language. Without exposure to the language, the strategies won't work properly. Because in India, especially in Kerala, there were different experiments. Different experiments were conducted for promoting foreign language learning, especially English, because English is considered to be one of the impediments for ordinary students to come up in life. It is certainly true. We know that not only for ordinary students, for everyone, a kind of fluency and a kind of proper knowledge in English, ability to communicate properly in English is extremely important. If you are a businessman, you have to present your ideas properly before an agent or before a multinational company. You need English. If you are a scientist, you will have to present your project before an agency. You need a good command of English. And whatever may be your position, whatever may be the field in which you work, I think a proper ability to communicate in a particular language, especially in English, certainly becomes a kind of benchmark for success in that area, in that field. That much is the importance that is given to the kind of access and the knowledge and ability in communicating in language. So languages have become a very important part of all kinds of education, technical education, as well as science education, in all kinds of education. Language is an important element. And among languages, English has a prominent position, an important position. So I think it is very important, extremely important to think about, to discuss about, to debate on the proper methodology for learning and teaching English. But at the same time, it is also important to understand that it is our own experience in teaching and learning that is more important than the so-called theories that we have learned. So what is our experience? We should learn from our experience. We should develop our own theories based on our experience. I think that will help us to make our teaching learning process better and more efficient in the long run. And I hope the papers that are going to be presented in this seminar will help us in formulating a better strategy for teaching and learning English. And I think it is not important to applicable for all kinds of people, all kinds of nations, all kinds of places. It can be different. So different societies can develop different strategies for teaching and learning, considering the background, the situation, and type of people and the cultural specificities, etc. And I think the seminar will open up such discussions and will help in developing a strategy or different strategies for teaching and learning English. I wish all success to this conference, and I hope that it will be useful, fruitful in developing strategies of teaching and learning English. And I once again use this opportunity to congratulate the organizers who worked hard to make this a reality. So I formally inaugurate the seminar and wish all success to this seminar. Thank you all once again.
Thank you very much, Professor Ajay Kumar, for your insightful thoughts and guiding suggestions. Now, I would like to conclude the inaugural session. I would like to invite Dr. S. Prema. Dr. S. Prema is an assistant professor at the Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala. She runs the excellent Center for Endangered Languages in Kerala as well. I invite you, Prema ma'am, to give a vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries across the world, I have been asked to express a lot of thanks to all of you. First of all, I wish to appreciate Professor S.A. Shanavas, Head Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala, and Dr. Amin Ali Al-Gamal, Thamar University, Yemen, for the great effort to conduct this virtual conference. I sincerely hope we will have collaborative programs like this in future. I extend my sincere thanks to Professor Dr. S.A. Shanavas for the welcome speech and Dr. Amin Al-Gamal for the detailed introduction about the theme of the conference. Professor P.P. Ajay Kumar, who led us on the right direction as our Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University of Kerala, is a literary critic and the editor of the most prestigious journal, Literary. Sir, we express our sincere gratitude to you for accepting our invitation and for delivering the inspiring inaugural lecture. Today, we are fortunate enough to hear the inspiring words of the Consul General of the Republic of Yemen in Mumbai, His Excellency Yahya Gobar. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala, and all the participants across the world, I express my sincere gratitude to you, sir. We also listened to thought-provoking words of Professor Adel Al-Ansi, Honorable Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Thamar University, Yemen, and Professor Abdul Karim Sabiba, Honorable Vice Rector for Studies and Scientific Research, Thamar University. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics, University of Kerala, and all the participants, I express my sincere gratitude to you, sir. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics and all the participants, we extend our gratitude to our beloved Dean of Faculty, Professor R. Jayachandran, for the felicitation address. Gratefulness to Professor Ahmed Al-Damani, Dean Faculty of Education, Thamar University, for most appealing felicitation speech. Just for a formality, I thank Mr. Bhaskar Palad for our student. On behalf of the Department of Linguistics, we express our thanks gratitude to all the participants across the world for presenting their papers and participate in this conference. Once again, I wish all the success for the conference and welcome all of you to this virtual space for a wonderful journey of experience. Beyond the limitations of space, we are safely live now. Before concluding, let me quote the line from Albert Camus' classical novel, The Plague. What's true of all the evils in the world is the true of plague as well. It helps man to rise above themselves, and strongly wish that we, the humanity, will overcome this pandemic too. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, madam. This concludes the inaugural session. We shall reconvene in about 10 minutes' time at 12 p.m. India time and 9:30 a.m. Yemen time for the first plenary session. Thank you all and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Well, thank you, everyone. So we will have less than 5 minutes break. Then we will start the academic sections and the academic sessions, starting by the first plenary session by Professor Hariharan, the Professor and Head Language Institute at University of Kerala. So let's make sure that Professor Antar Sulaihi from Egypt. Professor Antar, are you available? We need to check the sound. You are going to be the second speaker of the plenary session today. Sir, you can unmute yourself. There is an icon, it looks like a mic.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Can you get me now?
Yeah, you are very audible, very wonderful.
Okay.
Welcome from the land of fields,
Sure.
the land of the pyramids.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jamil, and thanks for all the professors.
You can unmute yourself now. You can mute yourself. So, Professor Ivy Song, she is going to speak also today in the third session, in the plenary session. Professor Ivy Song, are you available? Yes, he's there. Could you please unmute yourself and we can do a test for the sound? Okay.
Yes, it is clear.
Yeah. Hello, good morning, dear ma'am.
Good morning.
Yeah, it is okay. Look, now here in India, it's around 12 o'clock. Yemen, it is now 9:30. So we have three different timings. Thank you. So now I would like to start the initiation of the plenary session.
Welcome back. Thank you all. Now let us start the plenary session 1. The speaker is Professor B. Hassan from Department of English. We used to call it Institute of English, and he is the head of the department, and he is the director of University Area Studies Center of Canadian Studies, and he has completed 2-3 major projects by UGC. As a member of editorial team of preparatory introductory course material on Canadian studies, he has published many books, and he has authored some books on Malayalam as well. He translated some Malayalam books to English, and his area of interest are theatre, diaspora, translations, CC graduate fellowship. He received a CC graduate fellowship in 92-93, and now he is going to speak on a topic which is very interesting. He speaks on the innovative topic called the diary an English teacher did not take. I welcome Professor B. Hariharan for his plenary speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Shanwas. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. In fact, let me begin with a disclaimer. I am not very sure if disclaimers are permitted in a plenary presentation. Professor Shanwas had talked to me over the phone, and he tried to convince me that I must participate in this conference, but then I tried to get away from his hold, telling him that I'm not an ELT specialist, I'm not a language specialist in that sense, who has got formal training on the teaching and learning of English. I am a very simple English teacher. But then he was persuasive, and finally I did agree that I will do it. So, and I was not very sure as to what I will be doing, because I'm not trained in language teaching. I never studied ELT or even ESP for that matter. And I see here that there are about 125 participants who all have, in one way or the other, probably have had training in ELT and ESP. So I'll try to play my best foot forward. And so once again, let me thank the organizers for inviting me to participate in this conference. So here we go. I thought I'll come up with, I was not very sure, like I said at the very beginning, as to the title of this presentation. And that's when I thought I'll try to formulate something like this: the diary an English teacher did not keep. I thought, I feel that this will try to explain the kind of things that I do as an English teacher. I would like to take off from three very interesting, very crucial things that Professor Ajay Kumar said while he inaugurated this conference. The first thing that I feel is very, very important is this: that English has become a world language. It is not that English is a world language. And I would like to emphasize on that word become, because this word become, I think, has a lot of echoes in what I'm trying to develop. And the second one has to do with the kind of strategies, the way in which different situations demand of us teachers very different strategies. So I will touch upon some of those areas, and then I would say that he hit the nail right on the head when he talked about the way in which we all believe in the kind of experience that we have, which we accrue over the years. Our experiences make us better. This is what he was trying to tell us. So I'm going to bank on those three things to develop what I feel is the argument that I have. When I started my career as a teacher, I was confronted in a way like this question of establishing how important it is, rather, to establish the foundation of language learning in a very systematic manner. Now, this is something that we all would agree that we all are trying to do, that we need to teach language in a systematic manner. But then I think as I started my career, I realized that there is much more in trying to understand what the systematic manner is all about. What has this to do with the kind of systems that are there around us? Generally, what we do in a classroom, I'm going back to the days when I was teaching pre-university students who had passed their 10th standard and were preparing, or even in high school rules, there is something called rule-based language teaching. Things have changed a lot, but then from there, I assume we all migrated, graduated, developed something called full-fledged ELT courses, which are offered. I've never had the fortune of doing any ELT course. So here I am. Here is a person trying to kind of skim through the whole thing. We discovered new ways of teaching and learning English. I think that is the whole adventure of teaching a foreign language or a second language, where we discover new ways of doing things. There have been a whole lot of developments in the area of teaching and learning English. But then what I would like to emphasize here is not that there are these many developments and that these are the developments. What I am personally more interested, more fascinated, has to do with the things that go into this development. And I would pick up only one particular thing here. That is how all these developments are in a way contingent on a variety of needs and professional requirements. So I think here it's very important to recognize the players who are involved in the whole process of language acquisition. So I would say that it is contingent very much on the needs, on the variety of needs, because the classroom, for example, the learning situation could be very, very heterogeneous. It is very heterogeneous. It would have very many factors, right? So the needs are very important, and then the kind of professional requirements, the kind of things with which we, not that we are equipped, we kind of learn to equip ourselves depending on the kind of needs that are there. Now, this is the first part of what I'm trying to say. I have 5 more parts to my presentation. Now, what this leads to is the creation of a niche. There's a niche now. Now, what is this niche? It is a niche now that the English teacher, niche area of experience that you think you discover. And one particular area that I would like to briefly mention here, a niche area that we did discover, happens to be ESP. It's a niche area. This is an area that we discovered because we're talking about English for specific purposes. And specific purposes can be many, many things. So we would have English for this, English for that, for business, for nursing students, for a whole lot of things. So it is very, very need-based. So this is why I said that it's very important to discover, to say that these are niche areas. But then these are niche areas that are already classified and already there. But then I think as teachers, we discover niche areas as we go into different classrooms. Different classrooms create different niche areas. This is what I personally believe, what I've seen happening as a teacher. Now, what I'm going to do now is to briefly talk about my intervention in ESP. I have had no training in ESP or in ESP. Let me emphasize that. Now, for me, ESP is something very simple. I'm not going to complicate it at all. I'm trying to put it in very, very simple terms. For me, ESP is the specific purpose for which my student comes to the class. Let me repeat that. ESP for me is a specific purpose for which my student comes to the class. There could be many, many reasons for which a student would come to the class. There could be different reasons. But then why would a student come to my class? And what is it that this student wants from a class? Or why should this person come at all to my class? Now, this is a question that I've always asked when I did teach undergraduate students for 3 or 4 years and postgraduate students for probably 2 decades. Certificate programs that a Center for English Language Teaching offers in my department, where we have had classes on Saturdays and Sundays. The age group of participants, of students who would like come there could be teachers, there could be housewives, and the kind of things that we do in terms of language teaching. We generally talk about the 4 basic competencies. Listening, LSRW, the 4 skills. I always tell the students that the most important skill, if one were to grade these skills, I would say is not writing or reading, but it is listening. Because when I speak, I must listen to what I'm saying. Because if I do not listen to what I'm saying, I will not know what I'm talking about or what is it that I'm saying. Because I need to listen. When I read something, I need to learn to listen with my eyes. And when I read, I need to listen with my eyes and with my ears. And if I have a problem, if I'm a differently abled person, then I learn to read with my fingers. I learn to listen with my fingers and with all my senses. So we listen with not just our ears, but then with all our senses. So that's why I said this idea of specific purpose and this creation of niche, I think is a beautiful, beautiful discovery for a language teacher. So let me repeat this. The specific purpose for which my student comes to the class. And this is where I tell my student that listening is very, very important. Because if you do not listen, you will not be able to speak. If you do not listen, you will not be able to engage in a conversation. If you do not listen, you will never be able to ask questions. That is, I must learn to discern the multiple niche areas the students are willing to let you in. It's not that my area and I give it to you. I must be willing to listen to the niche areas in which my students permit me, allow me in. There could be areas where it would be difficult. There would be no entry for me. I'm sure all of us would have had this problem with students who are who probably are scared, who will not open their mouth initially, because that's their territory. We are talking here about animal behavior. It's the way in which dogs, for example, mark their territory. There are areas that they mark, and they will not allow you entry, another dog entry, or even you. There is something called territorial behavior. And this is something that I think we need to recognize as language teachers. There are territories that we fear, that we are scared of, that we guard. There are territories that we guard, and there are territories where we permit access. So this, I feel, is very, very important for a language teacher. Now, this world that the student inhabits, it could be their strength, it could be diffidence. I don't want to use the word weakness. There could be strong areas, there could be diffidence on the part of the student, there could be hesitation, there could be fear, there could be anxiety, or even plain unwillingness. So I think a lot depends on how much the student is able to allow you access to this. A lot depends on your engagement. Largely, what you do in an English classroom depends on this. And therefore, this diary of my English classroom is never written down on a daily basis. It's all somewhere here, I don't know. And there's a reason why it's not written down, because that would come to the other part of language learning and language teaching. Let me share an anecdote. This is belief, most of us would have gone through this. When we start writing, we feel that these are our thoughts and these are things that we have come up with, and we try to write it down. And when the teacher uses the red pen, we feel bad. Well, the teacher has marked there's an X mark, a stuck off something, because these are things that we have written. And we believe that whatever we write is written in stone. Well, we never write anything in stone. So this is one idea that I'm going to develop here. The second part of my presentation is this why. There is a why. Why is it that I never kept a diary? I very much believe that the English classroom is constantly, always under erasure. The English classroom is always under erasure. The diary that I did not keep, therefore, was also under erasure. That is why I do not have a diary. The diary that I did not keep is also under erasure. So what I do is, in my class, when I used to teach grammar, the nuances of how to convert present tense to past tense or whatever, I would ask my student to come to the blackboard, give this person a chalk piece, probably I'll write one sentence, and then I'll ask the student to correct what I've written or what a student has written. The student would be standing there with a piece of chalk in front of the blackboard, and the students would keep on writing and rewriting and overwriting on what others have written. So you would write something, you would strike it off, or you might simply erase it. You would write again, and then the student will have to say what exactly his thought processes are as he tries to convert an active verb into a passive verb or whatever. So what happens there is, what I feel is that all of us at that point learn how to use language using the eraser. I think this is something that I learned to do, and I loved to do it. I still love to do it. So we learn how to use language using the eraser. This is something we don't have to really look up to the French philosopher Derrida to talk about erasure. This is something that all of us do all the time. So this is a beautiful, remarkable learning experience. Now, my learning stint as a young PhD scholar, for example, in the early 90s, taught me how I was erasing and writing over what I thought was my competencies in English. That's a big story. I will not go into it. There was a whole new way in which I learned how to write and discovered what competency in language is all about. And it goes back to this very, very central experience of not just writing, of erasing what I write. Language learning, I would say, is possible, I realized, only and only if the student recognizes potential of erasure, not otherwise. What I'll do is I'll try to sum up all these things by talking about two very interesting experiences as a teacher. The first one, revising a PhD thesis. It has to do with writing. I started off with listening, and I'm going to talk now about writing a PhD thesis. There was a PhD thesis that this thesis was submitted in 2008 January. This was when I was teaching in the University of Mysore. I'll read out the title of this thesis: An investigation into the writing processes involved in the master's thesis in theology. The challenges faced and overcome by the unskilled L2 learner. This was a remarkable work in the sense that the person who was doing her PhD at that time, when she got her PhD, when she was doing her PhD, she was in her late 60s. And she had done her MA way back in the late 50s. So I was fortunate to do it. And I found this topic to be very engaged. And I picked up a whole lot of things working with Iris Devadasan, who was doing her PhD. Now, it was a beautiful experience where I could see how you learn to engage with the writing that your student produces. It was a very, very fascinating experience where in that study, she was trying to argue that thesis writing is a genre in itself, and how you can actually teach the writing of this genre or teach academic writing to students. So it was a fascinating experience. This is one thing that I would like to share. And the second one, I have about 2-3 minutes. I'll try to finish it. The course that I designed, which I started offering in 2019, this is something that I was dreaming of for about 2 decades. It was titled Academic Writing. All of us offer academic writing courses. I started offering it for the 2019 batch in my university. Now, I'll tell you very briefly about what this course is. Now, this course is all about how you can students learn to keep track of everything they rewrite, not just write. I make them keep a track of everything that they rewrite. So what I do is I encourage them to keep a portfolio of writing that adds and sheds the language learning process. It adds, and then it adds a lot, shapes the language learning process. So they would have at the end of the course a whole portfolio, which I encourage them to build on, to add as they go through the entire MA program. So what happens there is this: in those moments, one discovers the pleasure of using language, as we recognize that the nature of language is essentially priapic, because I feel that language is an absolutely remarkable shape changer. It's a remarkable shape changer, and that's why I would say it's priapic, and it's perhaps the greatest invention that we ever have had in the world. Now, I would like to conclude my presentation. I'll finish it in probably 30 seconds with or reminding myself, rather, of a sentence from this remarkable great historian, G.M. Trevelyan. One sentence that he wrote way back in 1913 in a book titled Clio and Other Essays. I would like to, I always do this, I always tell this to myself and to my students, and I've stuck it in my rooms. I tell all my grad students and PG postgraduate students to read that and then think of writing, what writing is, understand what writing is. So I would like to sign off by reading to you what G.M. Trevelyan had said way back in 1913. This is what he says. He is a historian. He is not an English teacher. What is easy to read is difficult to write. The labor of writing and rewriting, correcting and recorrecting, is the due exacted by every good book from its author, even if he knows from the beginning exactly what he wants to say. A limpid style is invariably the result of hard labor, and the easily flowing connection of sentence with sentence and paragraph with paragraph has always been won by the sweat of the brow. This is from page 34. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much, Professor Hariharan. That was an insightful lecture about the process of erasure coming into play in the process of learning. And I think participants would take away this valuable lesson and perhaps use it to their advantage in their own teaching experiences. Thank you, Professor. Our second plenary lecture today will be delivered by Professor Antar Abdullah, who joins us from Egypt. To introduce Professor Antar Abdullah, I invite Dr. Amin Ali Al-Jamal. Dr. Amin.
Thank you, Mr. Paskar. Now, I will introduce Professor Antar Abdullah Suleihi from Egypt. Professor Antar Abdullah will speak on the topic, a brief history of English language teaching in Egypt over the 20th century. Professor Antar has obtained his MA in language teaching from South Valley University in Egypt, and he also got an MA in linguistics and translation theory from University of London, and the PhD in language teaching, South Valley University in Egypt. He also got a master's degree in religion and public life from Carleton University in Canada. He was a professor of applied linguistics at Taiba University in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And he has published 40 papers, including 10 publications in Arabic, and the publications were in linguistics, teaching English as a foreign language, and translation. He wrote 19 books on language, education, teaching, and literature. He translated 2 big volumes on teacher supervision and intelligence. He published more than 20 articles in newspapers and cultural magazines in English and Arabic. He is a reviewer in 5 international language education journals. He participated and presented at more than 30 international conferences and workshops. He taught and developed Arabic materials at the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, UK. In 1999, he participated in a training course for 6 weeks in USC at Cal State, LA, California, USA. He has supervised and examined more than 40 MA and PhD dissertations in Egypt and KSA. He has been teaching the applied linguistics in Saudi Arabia and in Egypt for more than 19 years. We welcome Professor Antar Abdullah to speak on his topic. You can unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amin Ali Al-Gamal, for inviting me over to this wonderful international virtual conference. So is my voice heard quite well?
It is fine, sir, but if you bring the mic more to your... okay, that's perfect.
So I say that I'm honored to be invited over to this international virtual conference in English language teaching and learning in the ESL, EFL settings, especially as it takes place in virtually between 2 international universities in India and in Yemen. And I'm adding my country over by participating in that and being part of that. It is now 9 a.m. in Egypt in the morning. And so it's a wonderful morning to be with you this morning. I would like to thank very much the chief patrons of the international conference and the coordinators and the heads of the departments of English and linguistics and all the professors and all the colleagues and all the researchers who are attending this conference. When I was contacted by Dr. Amin on a topic for this international conference, and I knew that it would be run by both dear universities in India and in Yemen, the first thought that came to mind was that I will be witnessing a cooperation between the 2 language circles that late Professor Raj Kachro mentioned in his World English is the outer circle of India, where English is a second language, and the extended circle where Yemen is using English as a foreign language. And so it was interesting to see how these 2 will interact together and how these will also lead to thoughts about integrating the language curriculum to represent the real status of English in the world, not just in the Anglo-American world, but in the world that is using English as a global language and not as an Anglo-American language. So I thought about giving you a brief history and a hint about the English as a foreign language in Egypt and how the history of imperialism, Orientalism, and colonialization has developed and shaped the way English is taught in Egypt in the present day, and how this will have also insights onto the future and how the future will be like. So I have developed a piece of PowerPoint presentation. I will see if this will be okay, shared with you. Okay, waiting for it to be shared. Okay. So the PowerPoint
Yes, sir,
presentation
it's
now
visible.
visible?
Please go on.
Okay, thank you. So I start by saying that Egypt and the West in general had a long history of conflict. Egypt with the heart of the Islamic world, and the West had always had a conflict with Islam and mainly the Arab world. There had been crusades through the medieval ages, and there have been like warfare between the two sides, the West and the East, for long. However, the first encounter of Egypt with the European modernity came in the near to the end of the 18th century and the beginnings of the 19th century with the French campaign on Egypt, when Napoleon Bonaparte came to Egypt, and this French mandate just stayed there for 3 years. But these 3 years were very influential on the Egyptian history. Because just after the French left under the resistance of the people of Egypt at that time, their effect and their influence remained in the land of Egypt for a long time, and started with the strong man of Egypt, which is Muhammad Ali Pasha, and he had a French fascination. So he decided on sending the first scholarships over to France in order to study modern science, and based on the knowledge attained and the experience that the first scholars got from Europe, he started opening schools and establishing a modern system of education in Egypt. Not long after the French left Egypt, the Brits came to Egypt, and they had like two campaigns. The first one was in the beginnings of the 19th century, and it was also faced with resistance by the Egyptian people and the Egyptian Muslim army at that time, but their influence stayed after they have been kicked out. They returned back in 1882, and then at that time they stayed for more than 40 years. So while the French stayed only for 3 years, the British stayed for more than 40 years. And it is interesting how the practices of introducing the English language and the attitude towards education by the British colonizers were very similar to those used with the Indian people and the Indian peninsula or continent. So moving from this history to the history of curriculum, we have some excerpts from curricula that were used during that time. So in the early encounter with English language curricula, this was in the 19th century, and the main method that was used for teaching at that time was the grammar translation method. And these are covers and inside pages from sample books that were published in the Ottoman Empire, under the Ottoman Empire, and they were mainly used for teaching English through the grammar translation method. So the language of instruction was not the target language, it was not English, it was Arabic, the mother tongue. And the teaching focused on just showing the grammar rules of English and translating passages into Arabic and back from Arabic into English. And this was a wonderful linguistic training, in fact, for students to compare between the two languages at the early stages in the primary stage in the early 19th century. So from among the books that were used was this book, which is called Al-Bakur al-Shahiyya, or the nice beginning, the elegant beginning of learning English language. And as you may, or you can see that even on the cover itself, we have lines of Arabic poetry. So the author of that book is trying to make the students love the English language through tasting the Arabic language and then comparing between the two languages in a way of a contrasting linguistic analysis that was in its early forms at that time. There were lists of words, and between the two inverted commas or the brackets, there were the pronunciation of the words in different foreign languages, not just English. So there were the Turkish language, the Persian language, the English language, and sometimes the French language. For example, this is another book that was used, and it uses both the French language and Arabic alphabet. The focus was on translation, and it was believed that translators are the real language learners, and the aim of learning the language is to produce proficient translators who can convey the message of the Arab world.
Excuse me, sir. We are sorry. We have someone, Abdul Qawi Ali, please stop your presentation. Don't share the screen while the speakers. So, sir, you can share again, please. You can present again.
Okay, share again.
You can start presenting now.
Okay.
Please, anybody, when you sign as not to present, just only to join. And while you are in the session, just please listen to the speakers. Okay, fine.
Okay, shall I go on? Okay. So this was just another example of how translation was very important at that time of history. And even conversation, I mean, like the productive skills, not just the receptive skills of reading and listening. We have also the productive skills of speaking and writing. They were also manipulated and used and employed through using translation and grammar. So we had grammar and then examples on the rules of grammar, pieces to be translated, and forms of conversation. But the conversations and the dialogues themselves are part of practices and exercises on the grammatical rules. So it's interesting to see that this book, for example, was published in Malta in 1840, which is like now more than 170 years or 80 years. And it introduced dialogues, long dialogues, detailed dialogues. And we had, for example, in dialogue number 1, we have people saying, "Good morning, sir," and then each word is translated beneath that, and then it was reformed in good Arabic structure next to that, so that the students will know the meaning of each word and the meaning of the whole sentence altogether. Translation was very important in the Arabic language with the means of instruction, and we don't know much information about how teacher training was done at that time, but we know that it was mainly translation tasks, and proficient translators were the proficient teachers. Then under the Egyptian kingdom, Egypt was part of the Ottoman Empire, and then after Muhammad Ali, it has been separated as an independent kingdom, although it was under the British occupation, but the king, the Egyptian king, was ruling Egypt. So there was a shift from just going to translation only to translation and something else. And we will see this, but these are just examples of how translation was presented to students in the primary stages and in the early elementary schools at that time, in the beginnings of the 20th century. As the British thought about having new representatives from the colonies that they have occupied, they introduced the direct method. And the direct method focuses on teaching English in English and focuses on teaching the oral skill than the visual skills. The oral skills, the ones that use the tongue and the ear, or speaking and listening, rather than the eye in reading and the hand in writing. And In fact, this was the method that was used in teaching the first language. Excuse me. It was used to teach the English language as the mother tongue to the British boys and girls in Great Britain. So it was the method that was introduced to teach English also in the colonies. So we had some examples of books like these ones, Studies in English Idioms or Introduction to Sound and Structure. And we will see even when time comes to reading and writing, oral skills were used and employed in order to present and train the students on the reading and the writing. What's interesting is that the introduction of the English language at that time was not starting with the English occupation. The British did not focus on education when they came to Egypt. They thought that to keep the colonized and the oppressed ignorant is better for the occupation. And then they rethought and found that based on their experience in India, to have representatives from the colonies would be a good plan. I have an example here from one of the books at that time. Let's see this one. Yeah, okay. So this is an excerpt from Thomas Macloy, who was a British politician in 1835, and he had the seat on the Supreme Council of India. He says we must at present do our best to form a class who may be interpreters. So the focus is still on translation and interpretation between us and the millions whom we govern, who will be persons Indian in blood and color, in our case Egyptians in blood and color, but English in taste and opinion, in morals and intellect. This is quite interesting that they moved from Orientalism, focusing on the literature of the country itself, to Occidental, trying to make the learner who is also an obedient kind of follower of their own morals. Okay. The oral skills, as I said, for example, this book by Nisfield is about English composition. And while it is English composition, it is presented through oral exercises. So in order for the student, for example, to write a good composition, they need to go through some oral exercises first, which may seem strange today because most of our students find it difficult to practice listening and speaking and find it easier to read and write. So in order to write, they don't need extensive oral, rather they just need to have readings. But at that time, oral skills were the primary skills that were used, and this was the direct method that they implemented. Then Michael West, who was a linguist at Toronto University in Canada, came up with a new method, which was called the new reading method. And Michael West thought of introducing world literature, mainly English literature, in a simplified way through additional readings. So rather than intensive reading of passages, this would be extensive readings of extra readings or supplementary readers. So he began to simplify some of the international world literature and thought that this will polish the taste and develop the character of the Indians and the Punjabi people. And he experimented this method at India first, and when it was a success, it was also carried over to Egypt. And till today, we have these readers that are additional. And we can see here, for example, this is one example of a reader. It's called the new method reader. It is the Michael West new method readers. This is Alan Quatermain, which was written by Sir Henry Rider Haggard. the author of King Solomon's Mines. And we can see, for example, from this copy, that the student was in a secondary school. It was in 1934, and the student uses his own stamp, and he's writing the date of the day and some meanings of words that he comes across. These are some other readers that were used also in Egypt and Sudan. At that time, Egypt and Sudan were one country, or both of them were under the British occupation. And Michael West was the person who introduced this type of being extra supplementary readers. It is also interesting to note that English literature was taught through simplified readings in India and Egypt before it was introduced as a school subject to the British students themselves. The British students themselves in England used to study Greek and Roman literature, not English literature. And there were kinds of calls for introducing the English literature into the national curriculum. But the educators at Britain at that time thought that English literature was not suitable as comparable to the Greek literature. So they used English literature with the colonies, but not with their own country. And we have also another reference here, an argument by Guri Vosanthan, who observed that the young history of English literature as a subject of study is frequently noted. The irony is that English literature appeared as a subject in the curriculum of the colonies long before it was institutionalized in the home country, especially it was in India. Okay, so getting back. In 1952, the British left Egypt and Egypt became an independent country. And Gamal Abdel Nasser was the president of Egypt at that time. And so Arab nationalism was to the 70s. We had totally new curricula of English. So we had books that were written by Egyptians about the Egyptian civilization and the Arab culture, not written by British specialists, and not about the target language culture. We have here, for example, the flag. This flag of Egypt was the flag that was used when Egypt and Syria were united as one country. And we have here this poem for saluting the flag. And on the cover, we can see the obelisk in the temple, the Egyptian temple in the Nile, representing the national culture of Egypt. And through the 70s to the 90s, the same nationalist curriculum continued, but this time they changed it to the audiolingual method. And the audiolingual method focused on drilling, exercising, repetition, mimicry, and imitation. So there were long pieces of conversations where students had to memorize and to imitate and to practice hundreds of times. At that time, the example of the native speaker was the main goal of learning the language, not just to be a translator or to read the literature language, but to speak like the native speakers of the language. And CLT, communicative language teaching, came to Egypt near to the 80s and in the beginnings of the 90s. And at the time, we started to see integration of skills together. We started not just as an imitator of the native speaker of the language, but as a communicator with the native speaker of the language. And this happened, of course, because of the actions and the policies of the government at that time during the 90s and near to the 2000s. In the 2000s, we had CLT, which is communicative language teaching, integration of skills, which focused on all the 4 languages skills all together, and with the final goal of communication with the other and not just imitation of the other. But Michael West's reading remained, and it is still till this day part and parcel of the English curriculum in Egypt. I end my presentation with some thoughts to think about. Why have I made this brief history of English language teaching and curricula in Egypt? This is the reason we need to think about. As we are now in the first quarter of the 21st century, we need to think and to have decisions and to agree upon what we mean by the foreign language learning goals. What is our goal for the coming period? Is it just to communicate, or more than just to communicate, to have mutual communication, not just to learn about the other, but to get the other to learn about ourselves, to be visible to the other, to understand and be understood, to speak and to be spoken to. We need, as Egyptians and Arabs in general, to have set goals and aims and objectives, very clear ones for the future course on English language teaching. We need also to focus more on the student-centered approaches. As we have seen, most of the curricula in this long history focused on the teacher as a model that the students have to follow, imitate, model for correction for them. And we need now to have more active learning approaches, student-centered approaches. We need to revisit students' errors, because students' errors is in fact a treasure of language learning methodologies and knowledge, linguistic knowledge for us as teachers and educators. Students' errors tell us about how students think, how they learn, what their mental processes are working like. And we can benefit from understanding and analyzing the students' errors and developing relevant courses for their needs, and that also cater for their areas that need perfection and training. We need to have a clear policy on teacher training, whether we will have teachers only in colleges of education, or we will have teachers in institutes of education where they are having just a 1-year training diploma after they finish a 4-year degree in humanities or in sciences. We need to think about which is better and which is more proficient and more effective for this country, to have a teacher trained or just a teacher developed in professional development, whether the sustainable professional plans will be enough or they need to be revisited. We need also to think about the testing and the evaluation techniques, especially as, for example, these days we are using the internet, and this conference is virtual. So the old paper and pencil way of testing and evaluation is need to think about new ways of testing and evaluation, taking into consideration the available technology and its developments. We need also to think about the research results. We have a treasure of dissertations in Egypt on the experimentation with language teaching and new methods of teaching the language and developing different language skills and capacities and competencies. But these results are all stored in the drawers and on the shelves, and they are not coming into reality or actuality in the schools and the public schools. Finally, we need to mold all of that within an Egyptian theory or an Arab theory for foreign language pedagogy, the principles of teaching that are derived derived from this long history and from also the Muslim and the Arab history, shared history of the region, and taking into consideration what benefits people in this area and what caters to their real needs. With this, I come to the end of my presentation, and I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of the history of my country and thinking about the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Antar Abdullah, for those insightful and remarkable, masterful presentation on the history of English learning and teaching in Egypt, starting from the translation method, the direct method, through simplified readings, ALT, CLT, and now the modern age, where a new approach needs to be sculpted by the Egyptians themselves in order to understand how best to tailor learning and teaching methods for the people of our own countries. Thank you very much once again, Professor Antar Abdullah, for joining us today. We hope to work with you again in the future, in future conferences as well. Thank you, Professor. Now for the third plenary lecture, it is my honor to invite Professor Ivy Song Jiayang from Xiamen University in Malaysia. To introduce Professor Jiayang, may I invite Ms. Urmila K? Ms. Urmila K, please.
Yes. Now, Professor Ivy Song Jiang, she's an associate professor and head Department of English, Language and Literature, Xiamen University, Malaysia. She took her PhD from College of Humanities, Xiamen University, China in 2013. She is also a visiting scholar in Center for Learning Through the Arts, University of California, America from 2006 to 7. She has published more than 15 academic works in highly recognized journals. In this session, she will be briefing English language education in China. On behalf of the conference team, I invite Professor Ivy Song Jiang to present her.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon. Some people are in the morning, some people are in the afternoon. First, I'd like to show my great appreciation to the organizers of the conference. You see, nothing can stop our communication. Without physical classes, the students can still learn in online classes. Any hardships, it brings us opportunity to reform. Therefore, it is very crucial for us to see the light rather than the miserable side in hard times. Light is hope. Hope brings us strength and wisdom to overcome difficulties and go on for the better. My today's talk will cover 4 aspects. First, I'm going to introduce the situation of online English education in China. Then I'm going to introduce the pattern of non-professional English majors English teaching at Xiamen University. After that, our own story in English education in China. Finally, I'm going to share my exploration in English education. Since 1990s, online English teaching in China has been developed to be a kind of a business. It has been a very big industry till now. The 2020 analysis about the status and the competition of the market for children English teaching shows that the market penetration rate for children in China to have online English learning is 22%. The number of online users is about 6 million. And the profit from this industry is about 26 billion. So according to the studies made by Wang Fang and Zhang Jingjian, till April 2019, 68% users of the online English learning are children from 4 to 8 years old. And the 28% users are those from 9 to 12 years old. The government has pumped money into the development of online English teaching. A lot of universities developed various platforms for students to learn English online free. The MOOC of universities in China has provided 386 courses for college English students, college English learners. The students from 709 universities have bigger selection in English courses from China University MOOC for free. Furthermore, the government still encourages universities to make as many courses as they can for the MOOC platform. It is predictable that more and more students from remote areas of China will benefit high quality English teaching resources. Xiamen University is one of the leading universities in China. The culinary languages and the cultures of Xiamen University includes 5 departments are related to English education. One is aimed to nurture professional majors, while the other is in charge of the college English teaching for all the undergraduates and postgraduates. Today, there are about 40,000 students at Xiamen University. And then there are more than 20,000 undergraduates, more than 16,000 master graduates, and more than 4,000 PhD graduates. Apart from the professional English majors, all the other students are supposed to learn English as foreign language. Even the students who major in Russian, Japanese, French, German, and Spanish are also supposed to learn English as second foreign language. Then, how to deal with so many students English teaching? In 1998, my colleagues and I visited a private college in Dalian City. In their classroom, every student used an IBM laptop to get English knowledge and practice English language skills. They could communicate with their professor as well as their classmates. There was bigger selection for them to do class activities. Some of them were practicing listening and speaking, while others were practicing writing or reading. Whenever they had any question, they could inquire their professor online. So inspired by that teaching style, our university, Xiamen University, started to provide e-learning system for our students. Several years later, much more strategies have been taken. The pattern of half physical class learning and half online learning has been provided for all the non-professional English students. The students can practice listening, reading, and writing in online classes, and they can get feedback from the system automatically. For the physical classes, the students spend most of their time practicing speaking. And more reform of English teaching has been made at our university. Before 2015, all the students should have 4-hour compulsory English course per week. However, since 2016, the compulsory course time for physical classes has been flexible for different students with different English levels. Then, how is it? After the new students enter Xiamen University, they are going to take English level exam. All the freshmen but art students will take the same exam at the same time. Then the students will be divided into 4 level groups. For level 4 students, they don't need to take courses from level 1 to level 4. They will get an A mark for each level automatically. What they have to do is to select an elective related to English learning. Some lecturers will open elective course related to their own research, such as literature, philosophy, religion, drama, critical thinking, culture, history, and the like. The students just select the course or lecturers they are interested in. For the level 3 students, they are going to learn 1 semester compulsory English course and then elective. For the level 2 students, they have to take 3 semesters compulsory English courses and then elective. The level 1 students for getting Bachelor of Fine Arts are supposed to take 4 semester compulsory courses. They will not take elective. And for the graduate students, the similar patterns are used, but of course, with fewer levels. Thanks to the pattern of half online and half physical learning and the level-based teaching, human resources of our university are saved a lot. That is the status quo of non-professional English majors, English education at Xiamen University. English teaching, the change of content of English teaching has been another tendency in China. In recent years, especially since 2016, some elementary schools have gradually adjusted the content of English language teaching from foreign elements to local stories. In some elementary schools, English course books with the content of China's culture, literature, and art have been used at experimental stage. Moreover, the government has paid much attention to how to help and improve college students' abilities to tell China's stories in English. This year, the topic is formally listed as one of the special programs of the National Social Science Fund of China. In my English teaching career, my early research is about how to arouse students' motivation, learning motivation. When I have tried a lot of methods of arouse my students' genuine motivation, there were still 1 or 2 students' genuine motivation could not be fully aroused. Then I had done much more research, and a brand new subject stretched its helpful hand to me. This brand new subject was established in 1970s. Its name is drama education. One of the pioneers in this field was an English language teacher. Her name is Dorothy Heathcote. Later, she became one of the founders of the new subject, drama education. Being faced with a lot of young and sad faces after the Second World War, when she was only 16, Dorothy started to use English to teach English through drama. She created a method which is called teacher enroll, and a teaching approach which is called mentor of expert. Teacher enroll, as the name suggests, the teacher will take a role in class activities. Once the teacher is in a role of a story, all the members in the classroom can play a game together. And when they play a game, what's the relationship among them? They are playmates. Then a pleasant learning environment and process is created. As for the general meaning of mentor of expert, the learners have opportunity to become an expert at what they are exploring. For example, the students are assigned to be a theater or a drama presentation. We can give a theme for this assignment. It could be how to help your community to cope with the threat of COVID-19. First, the students will do careful research about the characteristics of COVID-19. Then they will go to find how other communities or other countries are coping with this same problem successfully. After that, they are going to analyze their own problems and try to find better solutions. Furthermore, they have to know the English terms of COVID-19 and other more vivid vocabularies in order to create a dramatic play. Finally, they are going to rehearse again and again so as to present a splendid dramatic story. During the whole process, each participant may have opportunity to become an expert of dealing with COVID-19. Moreover, what they may have obtained from this project may be knowledge of English language, different abilities and skills of using English, and a sense of responsibility to make commitment to the safety and the security of the community. They may become a creator and a designer of their healthy and a safe homeland. Since Dorothy's experiment, drama in education, drama in theater, educational drama, and applied drama have been created and used for education widely in the world. That is why the English class is also drama class in Britain today. At the same time, American drama educators have used creative drama to develop children's creativity. On the basis of a lot of pioneers of drama education, I started my experiment in English language teaching. What I have explored in English teaching is that both English and drama are used as media to develop students' 14 intelligences. The aim of English teaching is to nurture whole man or ideal man rather than teaching English language alone. The students do drama activities without realizing clearly that they are learning English. For them, they are playing games. With this method, the students' English language skills are improved, and their 14 intelligences are also developed. Furthermore, the students will only pleasure and beauty, but also individuality and even individuation. So English language learning is not only a process of getting English language knowledge and improving English language skills any longer. It has become one process for language learners to grow up pleasantly, obtain beauty, and develop individuality. It has been one powerful and effective means to develop Home. My talk is over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jiayang. Indeed, your comments on drama education and role-playing games in improving the motivation of students, I think is an excellent input for English teachers, especially for English teachers as a foreign language. And I think all the nations can learn much from China's massive approach towards online education and Xiamen University's online and physical mixture. So we hope to further gain your experiences in the future and maintain our communications with you. Thank you very much, Professor Jaya. This concludes our day one plenary sessions. We shall reconvene in about 5 minutes for the technical sessions. We're running a little over time at the moment, but I request participants in the technical sessions to kindly stay online. We shall reconvene in about 5 minutes' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear Mr. Pascal. So we will start within 5 minutes our wonderful sessions, the technical sessions, in which various topics in language teaching and learning, either in ESL or EFL settings, will be presented by wonderful educators and researchers from different parts of the world. We have got more than 10 countries in this particular conference. Like, as you can see, people are speaking from China, from Malaysia, from Egypt, from USA tomorrow, and also from Algeria, from Saudi Arabia, from Yemen, from India, and some other countries. You are all most welcome to this particular and these coming sessions. So please join us in 3 minutes. We will start the technical sessions. And we would like now to call the researchers in the first session to get ready. And now we will test the sound with them. So we will start with the first technical session that will be chaired by Professor Antar Abdullah Suleihi from Egypt. And we would like to call Dr. Murali. He is available there. Very wonderful. And also Dr. Pratap.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Am I audible?
You are most welcome. Yes, you are very audible and wonderful. And also we have Husayna Achargadi, Department of English Language at Thamar University. And we have also Dr. Shirley. She is going to speak from Aligara Muslim University. I think in Aligarh, yes. So the four presenters are available. You can confirm please now. Yes, one by one. Okay, so Husayna is there. Dr. Murali is there. Pratap, sir.
Hello, sir.
Is there. Amazing. And Dr. Shirley, Joy. Well, very fine. That means we have the first three available.
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, amazing. Fantastic. Thank you for being on time. So now I would like to invite Mr. Pascal to initiate the technical sessions. Mr. Pascal, please. So Mr. Pascal now maybe is having something to drink. He has been with us from the early morning. We really thank him. He is a master's student in the Department of Linguistics at Kerala University in India. And we are really thankful for his cooperation and support. We would like to attract the attention of our wonderful presenters that please abide by the time. You have 12 minutes for presentation. Then it depends on the chair. Either he decides that the discussion can be right after each presentation, or the 4 researchers can receive the feedback, or if there is any question or clarification at the end of the session. And when you reach the 10 minutes, we will try to ring the bell. The bell will be here to give you an idea that your time is approaching the end and you should conclude. Generally speaking, please try to don't spend much time in the introduction. We need the gist of your work. We need the fruitful parts in which you present the problem, and then what was the methodology and the solutions. We need the solutions, which are the results. So please bear with us and cooperate with us in terms of being punctual and winding up, finishing your presentations in 12 minutes. Thank you. So, dear Pascal, are you available, or I can take the lead? Okay. So, we would like to invite Dr. Antar to chair the session. Dr. Antar, are you available?
Yes, I'm available.
Okay, sir. So, I would like to invite Shruti to introduce the chairperson. Though we have introduced the formality.
Yes. It's a great pleasure that we have.
So the first presenter, according to the booklet of the conference in front of me, is Moral Christian.
Yes, sir, I'm here, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Morali and others, please mute yourself until your time comes, because there is a disturbance in the sound. So, Shruti, please introduce our wonderful chairperson.
Moving to our technical session, it's a great pleasure that we have.
Sir, no audio, sir.
Shruti, you need to unmute your microphone, please. Shruti, unmute. Thank
Moving to our technical session, it's a great pleasure that we have an eminent scholar from the land of pyramid to chair the session, Professor Antar Abdullah,
Professor of ESL and Applied Linguistics, College of Education, South Valley University, Egypt. As Dr. Amin mentioned earlier, Professor Ander contributed immensely in the field of language, education, teaching, and literature. He has more than 90 books in his credit and published 14 papers. And his academic endeavors are continuing. With all honor, we invite Professor Ander Abdullah to chair the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm happy to have the presenters today. We have 4 presenters, and according to the booklet of the conference, the first professor is Professor Mural Krishnan, who is an associate professor and head of the Department of English in the MES Sambi College in Kerala, India. And his topic will be about ELT for community engagement. I invite him to kindly stick to the 10-minute time and to start when he is ready.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ander Abdullah, who is chairing the session. Let me also thank Dr. Shanawaz and Dr. Amin Ali. I hope I am audible there.
Yes, you're audible, Dr. Krishna.
Yeah. So, shall I move on to the presentation of the screen, like the PPT?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is that visible there, the other side?
We are waiting for that. Yeah, I can see it now for myself. My part.
Sir, can you see that now?
Yes, it's visible. Please go on. Please go on.
Okay, so I think I can start from here. Hello? Shall I start from here?
Yes, please. Please go on.
Okay. So let me move on to the presentation.
Yes, go ahead. That's everything.
So the topic is English language teaching for community engagement. Now this is the entire paper experience that we had when we had for the last, I should say, for the last 4 to 5 years, when we actually went to the society, when we actually went to the community for the development of English language teaching and spreading the language as such into the rural areas of Kerala. Now, I went to a few villages. Actually, the department, along with the postgraduate students, went to a few villages in the rural areas so that we could conduct various sessions in various places, and we had a particular say a short-term engagement with the society there. So that's what I would like to present here. Now this actually triggered a lot of like ideas related to what kind of thing that we are actually doing from the theoretical perspective also. So what I'm presenting here is the real experience that I had from, I should say, 2016 to 2020. So moving on to the first part, the theory, as we all know, is based on what we call as the social or the service kind of learning. So community engagement pedagogies, it is also called as service learning, are the ones that combine learning goals and community service. So we are actually integrating two things there. We are actually conducting sessions for young kids and their parents, as well as the like community leaders also, who are part of the program. Remember, I am not concentrating, or we were not concentrating on the school students or the young kids there. We were also accommodating their parents, who are of course not privileged to learn English language, and also the community leaders of that particular society. They were the target audience. So they were sitting there for the entire program. And actually, along with that, we had also other sessions also. I'll come to the details one after the other. So according to the basics of service learning, as we can see here, it is a teaching and learning strategy that integrates meaningful community service with instruction and reflection to enrich the learning experience, teach civic responsibility, and strengthen communities. So that is the basic principle that we would like to I would like to share regarding this particular practice. And let me quote from Eiler and Giles. That is, it is a form of experiential education. Actually, the theory came late to me because actually we have been practicing it for some time. But when I tried to correlate the theory with the practice that we were doing, I could see that it is a kind of a practice which is generally, I should say, universally accepted in many parts of the world. Such things are happening. So in our state, we could easily implement with the help of the community. So that's why I said it is English language learning through community engagement. Now, this is the level, I should say. We have the student facilitators, the faculty members, and the community. There are 3 levels. For student facilitators, I said they are postgraduate students who are learning there in my department. They actually adopt authentic teaching materials. They focus on practical and meaningful communication activities. They maintain student-teacher rapport and interpersonal relationship, and they gain in-context knowledge about how teaching can benefit from various service learning activities. That is concentrated actually, it is actually meant for the student. Now, moving on to the faculty members. Now, we are not directly involved in the work is done by our own students, but we are present there. All the department faculty members are there to witness what is happening in the transaction process. So what we do actually is that we mentor students. So we mentor student teachers. We reflect on their own teaching practices. If in case there is some correction to be done, we do that at the practical level also. And we engage in team teaching and group work, and we undertake professional development via context interaction. That is one level there. And as far as the community is concerned, that is our target. So we have school students who get to know an alternative paradigm of teaching learning experience. So they have their usual classroom, but here we actually provide them activity resource as such by which they get interested to learn, or in the process of learning, I should say, is more interesting for them when we actually deal with them with this particular method. And then we have community leaders, parents, who get to know the means and methods of transaction. And I believe this can create a lot of democratization of the learning process, and it includes all members of the society. So there is a high element of inclusivity also in this particular practice. So nobody is sidelined, nobody is marginalized. Every member, whether be wherever or whoever it may be, they are all part of this learning experience. That's why we would say it is a kind of a community engagement. So when we went there, it is not just a matter of teaching of English. Side by side, we also had a program called collecting the e-waste, electronic waste materials from the same area where the school is located. So we collected them and we actually pooled them together. So it is actually a social service along with the teaching of English language. So I'm not moving on, or I'm not emphasizing on the e-waste collection. I'm concentrating more on the community engagement for the sake of teaching English language. And what are the general outcomes that we have identified? Because when students went there, we can see certain positive outcomes. The first thing is it had a positive impact on students' academic learning. Students, they know how they would accommodate young kids in the learning process. It improves. This activity improves students' ability to apply what they have learned in the real. It can create a positive impact on academic outcomes. Like what are the things that they learn along with this activity? If, for example, complexity of understanding, problem analysis, solving of problems, problem solving, critical thinking, and cognitive development. So these are the learning outcomes. As far as personal outcomes, they have greater sense of personal efficacy, personal identity, spiritual growth, and moral development. This is also an outcome at the personal level. So moreover, they develop what we call as the interpersonal kind of a development. They have the
It seems Professor Moral is being disconnected.
It looks so, sir, but let's give him a chance. He still has 2 more minutes. If he comes back, that is wonderful. Because I was about to hit the bell, but he already disconnected.
Yeah, and he has been discussing the results of this wonderful experiment, so he's wrapping up anyway.
Yeah, anyway, he's a wonderful researcher.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I believe now we should go to the next presenter. That is Dr. Pratap, and then we will give a chance for the wonderful audience participants to ask questions at the end of the session. For Dr. Murali, who has just disconnected due to some technical issues.
Yeah, I would like to thank Professor Mural a lot, in fact, for the nice presentation. And now we move to Professor Pratap Kumar Dash, who is an associate professor in English and CV Raman Global University in India. And the topic would be about the spoken audio versus spoken English, overcoming ELT teachers' dilemma in classrooms in vernacular schools of Odisha. Then I invite the presenter to kindly start.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name, mispronounced that or something.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I know. Okay. Honorable Chair and the wonderful scholars, thank you for giving this opportunity of presenting my paper. So let me share my PPT. Just a minute. Just 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay. Is it visible to all?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Very good. Spoken English. Normally, in primary and secondary levels, they put emphasis on textbook contents and adopt more, so to say, we may roughly say bilingual method or grammar translation method to provide instruction. And most often, as you know, code switching and code shifting problems takes place for most of the students. And I found one more problem in the text design that maybe since we prepare one-size-fit textbook, they are not suitable to the people having a multilingual and multicultural setup. So mostly I found in rural and semi-urban areas, students of primary and secondary level are unable to improve their spoken English, for which even if they try, there are several such problems. In addition to that, regarding the scope and proper motivation, we found it's less. Students fail to achieve the most minimum standard of fluency. So it has become a long-lasting problem for us. Most of the students at the primary level are reluctant to speak, or they have shyness, nervousness, lack of confidence as a result of the wrong pattern of instruction. And they also find the environment to be not suitable for improving the right kind of approach in developing spoken English. So in this way, I found that actually the problem lies in generalizing the problem. We need to specify, as elsewhere I had prepared, given a proposal for a project of preparing a linguistic inventory in which we will keep.
Excuse me, Dr. Pratap, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Abdul Hakim has presented. Please, dear audience, don't present while there is another presenter. So you can present again, my dear Pratap. Start again presenting.
Okay. What should I do, sir?
Present now. Again, start the presentation from the beginning to share. Start sharing.
Just slide, just share your screen once again.
Please cooperate, because this online activities, they need cooperation from all sides.
Okay. So you mean I will present from the beginning?
No, there's no need to present from the beginning. Please continue from where you left off, but we would like you to share your screen once more so that we can see your PPT.
Oh, that's well.
Yeah.
Fine. Is it visible?
Yeah, it is now.
So let me make it full.
Professor seems to have accidentally left the meeting. He's back now. He's back now.
Yeah, sure.
Here, sir.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Just I clicked the wrong button.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Is it visible now? Hello.
No. Yeah.
Is my PPT visible?
Yes, now. Yes, it is now.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yeah, from where you stopped.
Okay. So just I was going to draw your attention to some of the problems associated with improvement of fluency of students in vernacular schools. As I highlighted, there are pedagogical, then psychological, socio-cultural problems associated specifically with the students. So for that matter, instead of designing a syllabus which is one size fit, we have to customize according to the need of the such specific students. The thing is that we have language policy as outlined by the national government, which we follow in designing the ELT syllabus, or maybe English language syllabus. But in addition to that, there is a need of preparing our own materials and methods befitting to the need of the local students, as I told you, because they have their specific problems. For Odisha, as I told you, in the northern part, in the western part, in the southern part, so actually they have a different type of accent. I found these are the problems that I show in this PPT, that we have some general problems in Odia that affects speaking English, like this is one of the most important thing that we find, the final O. And then lack of sh. Then z is pronounced differently, and there is a problem between sho and cho. So these are the general problems for Odia speakers. There is confusion between vowel for like sounds. In addition to that, also we have confusion in the monophthongs, like so is not clear. So similarly, these are also some more sound-related problems that I have mentioned here out of my experience and experiments. So these are also influenced by the neighboring languages of the state, like in southern Odisha, we find the influence of Telugu, which is characterized by suffix postpositions. And in the northern part, Bengali influence is there. In western part, Hindi influence is there. So accordingly, they speak English. So in this way, I also find that some typical sound problems are there in northern part, southern part, and western part of Odisha, which is found prevalent in learning English. So another problem is related to roticization, because at a primary stage, students don't have so much of consciousness for which oo is a problem, ka is a problem, then dentals like to, da. These are also problems. Then lengthening the vowel or shortening the vowel is a problem. Weak forms is a problem. So these problems that I have pointed out. Moreover, typically Odia, when we translate it to English, it has got idiomatic senses, which is influencing or affecting the language learning or translating that to English. So this is how I have also recorded some of the common conversations both in English and Odia. But Odia, as I showed you here, Central Odisha, South Odisha, West and North Odisha. So their structure, the sentences or the expressions are structured in a different way, which is not compatible with English. So my point is, instead of making this example of a short conversation, in which also I found certain problems. So my suggestion is, instead of making a one-size-fit syllabus, we have to find alternatives, suitable alternatives to design syllabus befitting the needs of the students of the specific areas of this state, where the strength of
Professor Dash, are you still there?
It looks like that, Professor Antar, when they approach the end of their time, something happens. So I think we can invite the next presenter, and then we will give these two presenters 1 minute more to conclude at the end of the session. Yes, Professor Antar. Unmute yourself, Professor Antar, please. Unmute yourself.
Professor Antar Abdullah, we can't hear you. If you can kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just forgot to unmute that. So I'm presenting Professor Pothaina Al-Sharjabi from the English Language Department, Faculty of Education in Thamar University in Yemen. and she will be talking about the effect of using audiovisual aids when teaching English language in basic schools in Thamar city, Yemen. Professor Brooke, you can start right away, please.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah Antar, sorry. By the way, I'm not a professor, I'm just a teaching member. Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you quite well.
Yeah, directly to the topic because of the time. At the beginning, thank you, and thank you for giving this chance for presenting my study. Let me share my PPT. Is it visible?
You can go directly to your PPT because yes, you are sharing. Okay, and make it.
You need to click on the tab of the PPT.
I'm trying, but I think there is a technical problem. Is it visible now?
Okay. Yeah, it is now.
Okay. You know, in Yemen, teaching English language starts, it is a course. As the course starts from the primary stage to the secondary stage, and the name of the courses itself. Therefore, I carried out my study on the effect of using audiovisual aids on teaching English language in community education schools in the Thamar city. The objectives of the study is to find out the effect of using audiovisual aids in English language teaching at female basic schools, to explore to what extent teachers use all audiovisual aids and its availability in schools, to assess the school's environment suitability for audiovisual aids, by assessing the classroom environment, school administration, and teachers' qualification for the use of audiovisual aids. And the last one is to investigate English language teaching methods and the use of audiovisual aids. The study tools, I have 7 study tools: pre-test, audiovisual aids, such as cards, flashcards, wall cards, and cassette records. Activities were done in order to apply the audiovisual aids using them, such as on English language skills, grammar, vocabulary, listening, reading, writing, and spelling. There was a post-test, questionnaire, observations, and conversations with the teaching staff. One public female basic education school was chosen randomly. 8th grade students, you can say here, 1 grade students with 2 groups of the same class. Pre-test was given for 100 students of that class. It was consisted of 6 sets of questions derived from what they have studied. After the first group was the experimental group, consisted of 50 students being taught a unit of their English curriculum textbook with the use of audiovisual aids. Whereas the second group which serves as a control group, was taught the same unit without use. Test also was given results. It shows that it is very low and negligible, and that is because of two reasons. The first one was the pre-tests were from what they have studied in the previous unit of the first semester. And the time when the students were given the pre-test has already when they finished their exams of the first semester. So consequently, it was very easy for them to remember. We have here the difference of the results of the pre-test and the post-test of the experimental group. The results shows that the use of audio-visual aids in classroom has positively affected the students' acquisition for the learning process. Results of 6 language skills which were specified to examine for the experimental group. Through the results, we can find here the grammar. Look here, the results of the pre-test and the post-test, or the difference in the results, is 2.21%. This means that the use of cards had a great effect for the students to learn English grammar effectively and easily. If we come to the vocabulary, also we use the flashcards, cassette records, and it shows the numbers, or the results here shows the result shows here we have what? The audiovisual aids or the flashcards and cassettes affected the students' vocabulary learning despite the problems that we met while presenting them. If we come to the listening here, through the results we have here, it is very clear that the use of the tape recorder didn't affect English language teaching, and that could attribute it for different reasons. We can say the students didn't use to learn to the native speakers themselves. Also, you can say the students have a very limited vocabularies. Moreover, the cassettes were not well designed. It was also very difficult for students in this it was very difficult in this age for them to scoop or coop up the speed of deliveries. And then we come to the reading. It had been noted that the use of wall cards, flashcards, and cassette recorder in teaching reading skills was effective. If we come to the writing skills, here also, teaching writing skills was influential through the use of posters and wall cards. The last one is spelling here. Also, we can say that the use of flashcards and some activities that are related to the writing missing letters were effective. It can be here very clear that the effect of using audiovisual aids affected the English language teaching. Okay, now let's come to the results of the questionnaire. We have here, through the results of the questionnaire, the use of audiovisual aids and its availability in schools. Through the point 143, they reflects the absence of audiovisual aids in schools, which prevents teachers from using them in their classes. Also, the English language teacher has the ability to use audiovisual aids, and they only need training in order to know how to prepare and use them in the class, and that was clear in number 2 and 5. If we come to the classroom environment, here are 5 points related to the classroom environment. Through the teacher responses to points 3 or to items 3, 2, 1, 4, and 5, shows the environment of the class is not suitable for the use of audio-visual aids. And those who respond to item 4, 5, and 2 don't mind if the environment of the classroom is not suitable because they don't use audio-visual aids at all, even if they are available in classrooms or not. If we come to school administration here. The percentages of items 7 and 8 shows that the school administration can't produce audiovisual aids because of the lack of required resources. And the teachers who responds to item 7, he or she doesn't need to use the tape recorder for listening comprehension in order to know whether the school is provided with records or not. And the results of the teacher who respond to point number 8 means that teachers don't care whether tape and teacher's guide in teaching English language are available or not available. If we come to the teacher's qualifications in using audio-visual aids, here we can say it can be concluded that teachers are not adequately qualified to use audio-visual aids in teaching English language classes, despite their knowledge about their importance. They know that they are very important.
Ms. Hussaina, sorry to interrupt you. You have 1 minute to conclude, please.
Okay, so also here the relation between the use of audiovisual aids and English language teaching. We have seen that teachers only use the only one method, that's use the grammar translation method in order to be easy for them to teach the language itself. We have some conversations. Yeah, we have here observations, conclusions. Yeah, the use of audiovisual aids positively affected teaching English language at female basic education schools of the Thamar city. And large number of teachers don't use audiovisual aids because they are not available in schools. The school environment is not suitable for the use of audiovisual aids, and the classrooms are not suitable and comfortable. The school administrations are not provided with them, and the teachers here, they know the knowledge about their importance. Teacher integrated different aspects of classroom methods in teaching English language. For this reason, some teachers feel they don't need to use audiovisual aids. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hussaina, for this informative and nice presentation of your study. We move now to the fourth presenter, who is Shirley J. Joy, the Independent School. I think you need to share your presentation, Dr. Shirley.
And also to unmute herself, please.
Actually, sir, there's a technical glitch, so I'm just, moving to it. Just give me 4 more minutes to just present my slide, please, sir.
If you have a difficulty, I can share your PowerPoint from here, from our side.
I think I'm visible. My PPT is visible, sir.
Now it is coming. Fine. You can go on, please.
So my topic for today's paper presentation is about innovative pedagogical styles in English language teaching, learning in rural context. I would start with a quotation from Gradol that throughout India, there's an extraordinary belief among almost all castes and classes in both rural and urban areas in the transformative power of English. English is seen not just as a useful skill, but as a symbol of a better life, a pathway out of all poverty and oppression. Aspiration of such magnitude is a heavy burden for any language and for those who have responsibility for teaching it to bear. The challenges of providing universal access to English are significant, and many are bound to feel frustrated at the speed of progress, but as we cannot ignore the way that the English language has emerged as a powerful agent for change in India. This quotation really reflects the deep roots of English in India, because English, though a foreign tongue, has occupied a unique status in Indian context because you can take firstly because it provides a linguistic tool for the administrative cohesiveness of the country, and secondly, it serves as a language of communication. And if we look at the history, there were various committees that came there were various committees and commissions set up by the government has always given the recommendations and suggestions on continuing teaching of English. In fact, we can never forget the colonizers who were basically behind the exposition of English language. It was Lord Macaulay whose educational policies on English led to the brain to gain roots on Indian soil. That was formally given by Macaulay in his Minute on Indian Education, 1835. Lord Macaulay, the president of the General Committee of the Public Information, that is GCPI, in his minute, he justified the use of English as a medium of instruction and also the teaching of Western education to Indians because he believed that Indian in blood and color, but English in taste and opinions in morals and intellect. So, likewise, this was like a formal minute that was, came in India to spread English. Okay. Next, with the independence came the Article 343, Clause 2 of the Constitution of India, which believed that, because I would take out here that India is a multilingual country. The Article 343, Clause 2 states of the Constitution with the coming of Constitution, it was recommended by the Constitution that English language shall continue to be used for all the official purposes of the Union for which it was being used before such commencement. And developing Hindi as a substitute for English, it was believed that after this period, both the states and the center would be able to dispense with English for good. And imposition of Hindi on non-Hindi states, particularly Madras and West Bengal, resulted in clashes. So this was Article 340. Again, they came up with that English should be there because, again, I'm telling you, different states, they have their different priorities, and especially the disparity between the North and the South. So the South Indians believe that why they need to learn Hindi. And so again, with this article, they laid the roots to develop English. The third was the Official Languages Commission Reports, 1955. According to it, this commission realized the unique position of English, differences between, again, South Indian and North India. Madras believed that they were benefited through English and for Indian unity. Okay, next came in 1966, the Kothari Commission, when again with the differences between the leaders and differences of opinions, again with some people believe that Western education is going to bring a great devastation, and now Indian culture and Indian roots are going to be destroyed. And since then the Kothari Commission laid this kind of a commission that a report came that the adoption of Hindi as a common medium of education is not possible for some years to come in non-Hindi areas. They also kept this thing and it moved on. However, Kothari Commission in 1966 suggested that English should continue for the medium of instruction, that they also felt that English should be continued. Now, objective of teaching English in India. Basically, if we look at the objectives, there are two main objectives. That is language development and literacy development. At the junior level, what we require from the students is that they should understand spoken language. They are able to speak the language, write the language, and read the language. While at the senior level, it is the development of taste for English literature comprising of prose, poetry, story, etc. Drawing aesthetic pleasure from reading literature books. Understanding critical reviews, ability to translate a text or a literary article. Developing creativity in learners, that they are able to write poems and short stories, are able to come up with their own creativity. Now, the importance of teaching English. Basically, if we see that there are 5 important points of 6 important points, basically I would say that which states that yes, teaching English is very important in Indian context. First, that it is an international, importance of being as an international language, that it interlinks with different people of the world. And you can say as this language promotes international understanding and exchange of ideas and knowledge. Okay, next is the educational, direct medium of knowledge of modern arts, science, humanities, technology, etc. As this knowledge is published in a number of journals, books which are in English only. Vocational. Provide opportunities in varied vocations such as diplomatic, foreign services, business, commerce, medicine, teaching, law, etc. Cultural. English widens cultural horizons. It develops scientific, technical, and commercial relations with other countries, and thereby exchanging different cultures and traditions. Two, understanding of cultures become easier with the understanding of English language. Disciplinary. Knowledge of English somewhere opens a way to learn what is good and what is not. Okay. Recreational. Now, recreational, we all know that reading for pleasure. Many of the people find solace and tranquility in English. Now, coming to the rural India, if we see that English is not so, easily accepted in rural context. They believe that yes, English is very important. Definitely, if the children are going to learn English, they are going to be, definitely their future is going to be very, very secure, and of course, a successful future. But if we come to the rural part of India, especially, when I interviewed fiber teachers and students in North UP, so what I came to, have an understanding is that is the deterioration standards as compared to urban learners. What I found out here through the teachers' interview and also students, what the parents believe is, especially they are agriculturists, and when they send their student to school, though government has come up with very, very good initiatives of providing lunch, providing, monthly for girl child education, providing scholarship. But what they believe is that if the child is going to help them, it's going to be rewarding in terms of monetary gain. So what is that? They do not, are not regular sending their children to school. So you can understand the mentality here that for them, if the children are going to earn, they are going to earn like rupees 300 per day. So it is more beneficial than sending them to school. Though they know that a school education is very important and it's going to make their child more competent in the future. And the next is the students are not proficient with the skills. Again, the reason I've already told you that if they are not regular to school, definitely the skills are going to be hampered. Then the lack of infrastructure. If we see that the infrastructure is also, somewhere because of the lack of the parents are not so competent enough, the competent because of the not so competent background. It is also somewhere it is affecting the whole context. Then examination oriented teaching and learning, majority not aware of technological advancement. Grammar translation method, again they are more focusing on grammar learning, more rote learning. They are the teachers are more focusing on a rote. The next is reasons of failure to acquire mastery of English language. Like, what are the reasons behind? Like, assessment of learners' terminal behavior is evaluated on the basis of text and not skill. They are given a text, they have to rote learn, then the assessment is done on the basis of that, what they have reproduced. Then unequal opportunities in accessing English language. Students are not getting enough, opportunity to learn, access English language. For them, it's a foreign language, and to accept it is quite difficult for them. Okay. Then again, stress on grammar and rules. Poor quality of English language teaching context in terms of infrastructure, in terms of teachers also, not so, not so competent teachers in terms of pronunciation. Then poor quality of English language teaching context, inadequate support system in the form of teachers and teaching materials, lack of interest in students to learn English as it's not their mother tongue, less initiative to learn English as they know they're going to be promoted. Yes, this is one more, point. When I interviewed one of the teachers, she told me that the students were not coming. I said, why the students are not having the regular attendance? She said because they know that the rule has come of all pass system. So they know if they are going to leave their copies as blank, they are going to be passed. Quite, on the students' level, it's easy that if they are not studying also, they are going to pass. They are going to be promoted. Then lack of motivation. Again, I'm telling you, the context is not favoring them. They are not motivated to learn English, or to understand English. Poor infrastructure and overcrowded classes. When I interviewed one of the teachers, she said that, 3 classes they are being teaching because lack of teachers are also there. And again, they have a program also that sometimes, the child is much, his age is much, not according to the level of students, but they are being sit in the same class in order to attain that kind of, the competence,
Dr.
so that
Shelley,
after they
could you
attend,
please conclude?
next is innovative. Hello.
Yes, can you please conclude?
Yes, innovative pedagogical styles. That is a report of ONAID Place 2018 mentions some innovative modern trends in language teaching. That is demonstrative learning. They came up with the demonstrative learning, like demonstrate, comprising potential educational projects, presentation of products through which students demonstrate what they have learned. It's also accompanied by digital and multimedia projects in order to assess students' oral and listening skills. Asset-based learning, focusing on the talents of learners by viewing diversity in thought, culture, traits as positive assets. Learner-centered approach. This approach basically focuses on critical thinking and problem solving, creativity, innovation, collaboration, teamwork, leadership, cross-cultural understanding, and communicating information. Technology-based learning. This type of learning has both teachers and learners to be linked to modern methodology and necessity of time. In fact, it makes both learning and teaching quite innovative. Now, yes. Now, innovative styles of teaching English in rural context. We can innovate like skill-based learning. Focus on communicative ability, which could include all the 4 skills of English language. They can have different games to enhance students' communicative skills. Like, because they come from so poor background, but they know, like, we can start with the vocabulary, like which vegetable is this? What is it? How is it pronounced? So we can start with the skill-based writing. We can make them write on the boards. Okay, audio-visual aids, making students watch or listen to English news, short stories, poems, advertisements, etc. regularly can work wonders. Teaching through language enactment plays. Again, because our own Prime Minister has now, laid very much emphasis on vocal for local. So I would, suggest like the locally, folk tales, and locally, they have this epics being, short, you can say short plays being played on the TVs and all. And peer teaching, it involves one or more students teaching other learners. Harkness method of learning. This also I found in one of the white papers, that Harkness method, which students sit in circle and certain topics are discussed. Oral poetry recitation is encouraged, and once students get comfortable, collaborative language games can be introduced, and later on complex activities and discussions can be included. Meanwhile, the teacher serves as a guide through the whole discussion. Inclusion of digital aids. Digital aids can definitely do wonders in teaching and learning. It helps learners to understand the concept along with the teacher's instruction. Like this teacher, if when I interviewed, she said they have no no other technological aid in the school. So I said, why don't you use your own mobile phone, your own to teach your students? Now, involving parents, we can conduct special sessions for parents to make them realize the importance of learning and teaching English for their children. Then conclusion, I would conclude here like this, that language learning can all be made perfect through constant practice and continuous exposure to the target language skills of LSRW, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Though it seems difficult, but applying, adjusting, and experimenting innovative methodologies can help learners to feel at ease with English language. Above all, a teacher can never be substituted for any other method experiment. His or her interference and motivation can only be a remedial source for change. Technological inclusion can make learning and teaching more entertaining and effective, which could lead to understanding and improving English language for rural students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joy, Charlie Joy, for this nice presentation that is also informative and that is based on historical evidence and its analysis of the role of local areas and as specified in your study presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. According to the schedule, I think we are having just now 10 minutes to finish, or more than that, Dr. Amin. And are we inviting participants to ask questions, or just I'm giving a feedback? I have some feedback to give each of the presenters, but I just would like to know if there is time for questions and answers or not.
Okay, so we can give them the audience time to ask questions, but first we would like Dr. Pratap to unmute himself and speak for 1 minute accidentally.
So I didn't get what you said lastly, so because there is a problem in the voice and the sound. There seems to be.
Yeah, Dr. Pratap, you can just speak without video or without even presentation, just the conclusion of your study. Unmute yourself, and in 1 minute you can please state the conclusion.
So who is presenting now, or just I give the feedback?
Yeah, we are giving a chance for Dr. Pratap. He left accidentally due to technical.
Yes, Professor Pratap, yes, please go on.
Yes, yes sir. Hello.
We get you.
Hello.
Yes, go on, go on.
Should I?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, should I give my conclusion here?
Yes, sir. The conclusion, please.
Yes. Sorry, there was a network problem. My conclusion is actually I want that the syllabus designers should focus on the local needs, the problems of they should focus on the problems of the vernacular learners at the primary and secondary level. In addition to designing the text for the general readers, I mean students, teachers should also focus on the specific mother tongue influence problem and introduce spoken English from the primary level. In addition to that, they should also understand what is the problem associated with words and expressions or sound patterns in northern, western, southern and central Odisha. And also, they should give priority to the cultural context, local cultural context in which students have some idea, so that they can translate that to into English and use for spoken English purposes, and that would also improve their confidence in spoken English. So this much said.
Thank you very much. Yes, Professor Antar, you can open the whole session for discussion if you have some questions.
Yeah, okay. So I first would like to thank all the 4 presenters for the nice and informative presentations. In fact, I liked all of them because they come also and cover different topics in ELT, linguistics, error analysis, contrastive analysis, and program development. So every one of them has done very good effort and a very good presentation. So I also invite the audience now to ask questions and give feedback to whoever they like of the 4 presenters. So I think we can wait for like a message to be written for every person who would like to ask a question, and then we give the microphone to themselves. Or they can just unmute themselves and speak right away. Okay. Yeah. Or if there is a question, you can write in the chat box.
Well, it looks like they captured the ideas of the visitors.
Okay, I have some
now
feedback with the presenters. If there is time, just for 2 minutes or something.
Yes,
so
we can give time, and at the same time we have the emails and the phone numbers of all the presenters. If there is any question, you can write to us, and then we will write to them. Then we will feedback any person who has a question or needs clarification. I can see one question there, Professor. You can read it in the chat box.
Yeah. Let's see. The question
yes, yes, a question for me. My suggestion is that primary, both at primary and secondary school level, the teachers should be well equipped to assess the learners' errors in speech, basically in spoken English, the sound problems, and also they should motivate them to speak more and more and better. And also they should take up the subjects, the context in which they are well equipped with, instead of giving a remote textual subject. If they ask regarding their own culture, their parents, their locality, their surrounding, whatever they know, so that would help them to translate the ideas better and be motivated to speak. I think Mr. Javed got the answer.
Yeah, and it is a very good answer too, because in fact, after your wonderful contrastive analysis of the sound problems and the problematics in sounds for Odisha, in fact, the solution for the problems of the teachers and the dilemmas of the teachers will be easy if they take these into consideration.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, there is another question for you. Just can't see it.
Yes.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah, Ramin, yes, you can ask a
yes,
question.
to Dr. Pratap Kumar Das.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. So you were talking about spoken language, the differences at the spoken language at the regional level, right? When you talked about north-west, south differences.
Yes.
But if this is at the regional level,
yes,
isn't it possible for just the teachers to orient themselves with the difference? I mean, you talked about how there is a need to not have a one-sized script syllabus.
Yeah.
But that does not need to happen at the government level, right? Only the teachers need to be themselves oriented.
Yeah, teachers need to design that. They should be well equipped with that, because government cannot do it altogether for all.
Yes, but
yeah.
But what is the need for a syllabus in that? Because it is spoken English, it's just what they teach in the classroom. So I don't understand when you talk about the syllabus, designing a syllabus.
Madam, I'm not talking about syllabus. I'm talking about something then students know, maybe from sports, maybe from anything they like. So they should prepare some certain lessons to teach them, and simultaneously they should also find out the problem of sounds and syllables, or the spoken English problems, and help them to improve.
Okay, sir, in your PPT that was going so far, you talked about the differences in the consonants and the syllables and all vowels changes.
Yes.
So that's what I was wondering about. How are you planning to incorporate that into the syllabus? Because I guess you did not reach up the local.
Not syllabus, ma'am. I tell you, it is related to the teacher's perception. They should do it regionally, because it's not possible, and that way we provide the training.
Okay.
Trainers should also provide the training.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Prince. We have also another question for you. It's written by Randa Karpush about EFL prospective teachers' preparation and in-service training for this problem in Odisha. So,
yes, It's not EFL actually here, it is ESL. But right now, even ESL is not existing because we treat English to be a very common language for all purposes. Teachers should develop right now. What happens, we put emphasis on pedagogy, pedagogic skills, we put emphasis on different psychological and sociological aspects, but most of the teachers don't apply the sense of sound, phonetics and spoken English problems at the primary level. So that creates problem. So I want to highlight, I want to make the teachers prepare to sort out the problems related to sounds, maybe syllables, stress and intonation, and then context.
Okay, thank you, Professor. There is a question.
Professor, if you can read it. It is before the last.
Yeah, it's for Professor Moral, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, I'm here, sir.
Okay, so can you read that?
It's a question. Like, it's a community engagement needs to be scaled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it has to be made broader and larger. Of course, it should start from the beginning and it should be made part of the activity of the curriculum, so that you engage community throughout. It is not just a matter of focusing on something like 1 week or a 2-week program. It should be part of a curriculum of the state syllabus, so that you reach the underprivileged part of the society.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, I agree with this.
Thank you. Yeah. Are there other questions?
Let's take one last question. Please.
One more question. Yeah. So, Yohini, you raised up your hand.
Yeah, I raised my hand.
Yeah, Yohani.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the coordinators, presenters, and participants of this visual conference. My question is especially to Butania. I am not sure about the pronunciation of her name, from Yemen. I'm not sure whether she is available here now.
Miss
The question is, her topic was, yes?
Yeah.
Miss Busaya.
Yeah, she's here, yeah. So my question to you, Dr. Bitania, is your topic was about audio-visual aids in teaching English language in basic schools of Yemen. And my question will be, what will be your suggestion in relation with using audio-visual aids in rural areas, in the schools of rural areas, particularly in developing countries? Such instruments, audiovisual aids, may not be available there. So what suggestion may you have to us to use in such situations? Thank you.
The Ministry of Education should provide the schools with different kinds of audiovisual aids. That is number one, to give opportunity for the schools to practice using audio-visual aids in classes. The universities should give a point and should support the schools with this point. Yeah, I mean the officers of any of the Thamar Educational Office, or I mean in general, if you talk about the development countries. They should interfere and exert some effort to encourage teachers to use audiovisual aids. Okay. So teachers need to be aware also of the use of audiovisual aids. I know it is very difficult for them to prepare it at home, or to bring it to expense budget to give it from their expense. But I think we have some things at home, we can do it, or we can bring it with us to classes as teachers. Even if we are developed countries, just we can bring anything with us from the surrounding areas, from our homes, that can help the teacher to use audiovisual aids in classes.
I may add to that, just to confirm Ms. Buthaina's point. We have two types of audiovisual aids, high-tech and low-tech. So low technology audiovisual aids can be done by hand in very basic environments. There is no need to electricity. There is no need to devices to be used. So flashcards that can be exported from magazines or newspapers, or the teacher just himself or herself can be a visual aid by himself or by herself. Thank you, Ms.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, most welcome.
I see that we don't have more questions on the text box. And I would like to thank all the four presenters and the audience and the organizing committee for this conference, and that I was honored to chair and to benefit from all the ideas that have been shared and the presentations that have been presented by the wonderful professors. Thank you all, and I wish you a very successful day with the conference today and tomorrow. So thank you, Dr. Amin.
Thank you so much, my dear Professor Antar. It's really an honor for us that we have you today with us in the plenary session and then in the chairing session. You are so wonderful and resourceful. In fact, we really appreciate and convey the thanks of Kerala University here in India and also Thamar University in Yemen to your kind person for accepting the invitation and your cooperation. Thank you so much a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Pascal?
So this is all for the session?
Yes, this is the conclusion of our first set of technical sessions, kindly chaired by Professor. May I request participants for the next technical session to be ready, which we shall reconvene in about 5 minutes' time. So all for the next section, kindly be ready. And I would like to once again thank Professor Antar Abdullah for chairing this session and making time for us. So our first technical session is over, and we shall reconvene for our second session in about 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear Mr. Pascal. And we would like the four next presenters to be ready. We have Ms. Smita Nair. Are you available? Smita Nair. Well, and also Bassam Hamid is there. Thank you, my dear Bassam, for being on time. And Siri Rikha. Dr. Siri Rikha available. And the fourth presenter will be Thamar. So far we have confirmed Mr. Bassam from Baba Sahib University. And
yes, sir, I'm available. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, who is speaking?
Yes, sir, I'm Sri Rekha. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now we have two presenters with us. And Smita Nair. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, from SRT University in Nanded. And who's available? Is Shahnawaz? Shahnawaz?
Smita here, sir.
Okay. Smita Nair, he will do the inauguration. First presentation is going to be conducted by you. So I would like to request you with your three limitations of the time. Please abide by the time. Allow you about 2 minutes of the presentation. Try not to exceed please. And you extend your presentation that time. And request the wonderful audience, when you have the question, just state it directly. And also, the presenters will have the answer, also make it short and to the point. And if we there is another longer discussions, we can discuss by WhatsApps. We have, as we have mentioned, the phone numbers and the emails of all the presenters if somebody needs more resources or more information. So please cooperate with us and be on time, please. So we still have Shahnawaz is available. Shahnawaz.
Yes, sir, I'm present.
Oh, that's perfect. So we have you all, the four wonderful presenters. Now we would like to invite our wonderful chairperson. Okay, fine. You can now mute yourself until we call you. Now we will have the chairperson of the second technical session, Professor B. Bindu, and I would like to invite Dr. Al-Munira to introduce our wonderful chairperson, please.
Good afternoon.
I'm so happy to get a chance to introduce Professor B. Bindu from India. She's the Professor and Dean, Department of Education, University of Kerala. She has been the Chairperson of Board of Studies in Education of University of Kerala. And she is also the Chief Editor of the journal Studies in Education by the Department of Education, University of Kerala. She has successfully guided 11 PhD theses and has published more than 20 research articles. She has to her credit many awards, including the award for the most fabulous professors and INSC Research Excellence Award. So it's our privilege to welcome you, ma'am, for this session.
Thank you. Thank you all. A very good afternoon to all. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. We would like to give a notice to the presenters. When you reach minute 10, we will ring the bell.
Thank you all.
Which you should conclude.
Field for the last 27 years, and I have been experimenting with all this teaching strategies, and we are training in our department because this is a Department of Education, University of Kerala, and here we are giving thrust to developing techniques, strategies, and other innovative programs for making learning happen. So in that sense, we are for the last 60 years, our department has been experimenting on this English language education also. And in Kerala, as you all know, English is not taken as a foreign language, not as taken as a second language, but we are giving priority to this English language, even as the first language itself. And sometimes I am afraid that if we are giving priority to this language as are we giving overemphasis to this English language itself? That's all that is the experience in Kerala. And as you see, all the teachers, even in the school level or in the higher education level, there are very proficient teachers who are dealing with English. And more than that, any language is for communication. It's not simply communicating idea from one person to another, but it's above all transferring knowledge, attitude, and skills. And there was, during the discussion, there was points raising regarding the attitude towards English language, whether it's a foreign language or a native language. But this attitude decides what should be the strategy for learning a particular language, because the language, it should convey not only the knowledge, but the feelings of each and every person among themselves. So in that sense, the seminar is a very promising one. And I'm happy that there are people from all over the world has joined, and it's a very great effort by the Department of Linguistics. And I'm happy that it's a sister concern. And without wasting time, I am inviting all the participants or the presenters. We have 4 presenters in this session, and first one is Smita K. Nair. She's Assistant Professor Kunjathai Thachan, Malayalam University, Thiru. Then Basan Hamid Mohsin is from the Department of English, Faculty of Education, Hotia University, Yemen. Then Srirekha R. She's a higher secondary school teacher in Kerala itself. And Tanveer Shanawaz, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Rishi Bankim Chandra College, West Bengal. So we have from all levels, that's starting from the school level to the higher education level. So I think we can have a very good brainstorming session regarding the most appropriate strategies for teaching English either as a second language or as a foreign language. So you all the participants, welcome to the program. Best wishes for your presentation. You know the norms. Yeah, because we have 12 minutes. Speaker, 12 minutes. Try to finish it within 10 minutes or be ready with that, because be on time, and we can have a discussion at last. So first, I am inviting Srimati Smita K. Nair for her presentation on the topic socio-cultural approaches to English language learning in Kerala. Dr. Smita, are you present?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you can begin your presentation.
Yeah, first of all, let me share my PPT.
Okay, 12 minutes.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
PPT is seen?
Yeah.
Thank you. My title of my study is Socio-Cultural Approaches to English Language Learning in Kerala. So, coming to the brief introduction of education system of Kerala. In Kerala, there are both private and government schools and colleges. Here, English is the medium of instruction in most of the private schools. Government schools offer English or Malayalam as the medium of instruction. Kerala curriculum framework includes English language learning from first standard onwards. So the socio-cultural context, Kerala has been able to reduce the regional disparities in education. More than 96% of population in upper primary school within the served within the distance of 3 kilometers. Kerala has been able to achieve gender equality in education to a large extent. Then coming to the statement of the problem, although Kerala has good education standards, there are dropouts from education in all levels, especially from the tribal communities, which are from entirely different socio-cultural backgrounds. They face a lot of issues in mainstream education. Around 70% of tribal children drop out of education. The second one is, after long years of continuous education, English education, children are not capable of handling the language in different communicative contexts, and the failure rates of students in English language examination too are higher. Then, background of the problem. Both the issues carry a similar cause, which is the education without the proper knowledge of its socio-cultural environment. Learning a new language without the knowledge of its socio-cultural environment is like parent drills, which creates an unfamiliar environment to children. It lowers the self-esteem and results in dropouts or failure or less proficiency in that language. They have a substantial disadvantage in receiving instruction in a foreign language. These challenges may severely affect the students, especially coming from minority language areas or from other backward conditions. So in both cases, specific learning needs of children in relation to the language of the home and those of the school have to be considered. Then coming to the Vygotsky socio-cultural theory, learning and development cannot be dissociated from their context. Learners bring their own understandings to social interactions and construct meanings by integrating those understandings with their experiences in the context. Vygotsky postulated that one's interactions with the environment assists learning. These experiences which one brings to a learning situation can greatly influence the learning outcome. So as per the socio-cultural theory, children's early language learning arises from processes of meaning-making in collaborative activity with other members of a given culture. Therefore, social interactions are significant. Internalization of actions and mental operations occur in social interactions through the cultural transmission of language. The aim of schooling should be to develop the children greater awareness of themselves, their language, and their role in the world. They should be active members of the cultural world created in schools, which modifies mental functioning. The culture affects the course of one's mental development. Implementation. Sociocultural theory in second language learning can be implemented in different levels, that is in curriculum, teaching, and assessment. In curriculum, the current assessment of English language education in schools, the bilingual explanation of textual material, mostly they approach the grammar translation method or the structural approach for that. It results the English class miserable or challenging for the students. In between reading and writing process of English, spoken English is confined to the primary skills of listening and speaking. But current education system gives importance to secondary skills such as reading and writing, which results in the suffering of both sets of skills at later stages. And thereby, complete proficiency becomes a challenge. In order to overcome this difficulty, syllabus has to be changed into real language situations for interactive learning. Since children learn much through interaction, curricula should be designed to emphasize children between learners and learning tasks. Teaching. In teaching, helping students to acquire cognitive development through the social surroundings can be accomplished in many ways, such as instructional scaffolding, reciprocal teaching, peer collaboration, etc. Instructional scaffolding is a familiar term which we have already practicing in our education setting to support the children by asking questions or by prompting or in the form of instructions. The point to remember here is skill by building on skills that they already have. That is, scaffolding won't be proficient in cultural isolation. Reciprocal teaching involves an interactive dialogue between a teacher and small group of students. From a Vygotsky perspective or sociocultural perspective, reciprocal teaching comprises social interaction and scaffolding as students gradually develop skills. Then coming to peer collaboration, when peers work on tasks cooperatively, the shared social interactions can serve as an instructional function. It proves to recognize the impact of the social environment during learning. In English language learning, it can be used as collective activity to imitate natural communicative events. Then coming to the third level, that is the assessment. Assessment methods must take into account the zone of proximal development as said by Vygotsky. What children can do on their own is their level of actual development, and what they can do with help is their level of potential development. The zone of proximal development is the difference between what children can do on their own and what they can do with assistance from others. That is the difference between the actual development and the potential development. Interactions with adults and peers in the ZPD promote cognitive development. The ZPD represents the amount of learning possible by a student given the proper instructional conditions. We can calculate the ZPD of students in schools in different environments in order to note the development of learning activity. Then implementing teaching methods. Active implementation of these methods in English language learning can bring out better results. The way of implementation of these methods should be treated carefully. Reciprocal teaching and peer collaboration can be a role of play of natural communicative models of their own socio-cultural events than a drama or a story from an unfamiliar environment. Cultural exchange along with knowledge transmission occurs when a group of students share such ideas. Theme-based learning. The interactive classes can be set with some themes. The theme can be anything in our immediate environment like nature, place, work, different home-related activities, cooking, etc. Then abstract stories like once upon a time there lived a king. Significance of immediate environment is that it can be creative always. Themes of nature can also be the teaching aid. Students can act as different trees, flowers, can play stories, can create events with the help of teaching instructional scaffolding. Reciprocal teaching and peer collaboration can be the methods here, like small skits, role play, stories, songs, etc., related to particular